Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Jimmy Gallagher. They call me Bays. I also go by RealBayes. And we have a lot to get into today. There is so much going on in this world. Today, I want to talk about the reports that came out the other day regarding Tulsi Gabbard and the JFK files, and apparently also the MKUltra files. So apparently, Jesse Waters reported that the CIA raided Tulsi Gabbard's office to take JFK and MKUltra files that she was planning to release. Now, shortly after that, she said that it wasn't true. Fox News redacted the story. Jesse Waters took his X post down, and everybody got a little skeptical. Now, the reason why I want to focus on this issue today is, the JFK assassination. That is one of those topics that actually means a lot to me personally. I feel that it is symbolic of the broken trust and relationship between the government and the American people. Now, when I think about the JFK assassination and the narrative that they gave, you see, for decades they tried to convince us that a lone shooter by the name of Lee Harvey Oswald assassinated JFK with a magic bullet. Now, I'm sure by now all of you guys have heard this story a million times, so I won't get into the details. But like, we always knew that it wasn't true. And at this point in what is it, May 15th of 2026, it's basically, we could say that it's a fact that it's not true. So, when I think about this, there are three logical scenarios that I can calculate in my mind as to why they would lie to us about this story. And, the first one is pretty horrifying. It is that the government was, in fact, involved with the conspiracy to murder a U.S. sitting president, and they just made up the narrative. Now, the second one is a little bit better, although I think it falls apart pretty quickly. It's that they just wanted a quick resolution for the public. They wanted to a quick resolution, restoration of confidence between the people and the government, and closure for the American people so that they can then do the investigation with a little less pressure and deal with it the way that they wanted to behind the scenes. Now, not only would that have been unethical, it would have been unconstitutional. And it would also mean that they set up Lee Harvey Oswald, who said he was a patsy shortly before he was publicly executed. So, like I said, that one falls apart pretty quickly. Now, the third theory that I have is another one that's been getting a little bit more attention more recently. And this one might be the scariest one. And it is that whoever did this investigation into the JFK assassination found evidence of who they believed to have been responsible and thought that it was worth covering up. Now, why? I mean, we can all have our theories and our thoughts, but let's get into the actual story.
And this just in, John, the CIA just raided Tulsi Gabbard's office. Agents hauled out dozens of boxes, files on the JFK assassination and MKUltra, the CIA mind control operation, which she was in the process of declassifying. Today's whistleblower said it during his deposition, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna confirmed it moments ago.
The reason why this is troubling is, A, there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MKUltra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed.
Now, yes, it is true. President Trump did declassify or ordered the declassification of these documents pretty early in his second term, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. I believe this video was made on January 23rd, just 2 days after his inauguration.
Order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed. Okay? Give that to RFK Jr.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Okay, thank you very much.
Promises made, promises kept, right? Well, not quite. You see, they ended up releasing the JFK files with heavy redactions. It's a lot better than we got with the Epstein files, just saying. But reports started coming out that there was a lot of missing files. John Kiriakou, formerly of the CIA, said that there was about 10,000 files that were never to be released. Hold on. I've got this clip right here. Sorry, guys, bear with me.
I was going to say, what about the Kennedy assassination? We still have all those classified documents.
Exactly.
And so by law, they should be unclassified.
In fact,
John, I have a theory. I have a theory I want to share with you on that. My entire life, my entire adult life, from 1963 when the assassination happened until the time I left my former life, I was told there's no question about it that mob was involved in that assassination through Jack Ruby. That I don't know what government agency came to us, but I heard this consistently from the right people, including my dad. I don't know what government agency came to us, but Jack Ruby was 100% associated with us, 100%, and that's documented. From what I understand, the commission came back and said he had no affiliation, which was an out-and-out lie. It was just totally a lie. He was associated with New Orleans, you know, with Chicago, and even in Dallas. That's how we got it straight. It was 100%. And yet they're saying it never happened. So I always said that one of the reasons, might be more reasons, that they don't want to release these classified documents because the government doesn't ever want to say that a sitting president was able to be assassinated by people with the mob. And that's been my position, knowing what I know. What do you have to say? I know we're jumping around, but this is so interesting. I have to tell you.
I have a couple of things to say about this.
Now, we're going to continue with that clip, but first off, I just want to say it is known that not only did JFK and his brother RFK, who was also assassinated shortly after he declared that he was going to run for president, that they both did have big issues with the mob, or I should say the mob had issues with them. You see, the legend has it that part of the reason why JFK was able to win the presidency was because the mob helped him by allegedly rigging some of the polls in, I believe, Chicago and Texas. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that is just a rumor that has been circulating for a couple of decades. And the mob was not happy with JFK's policies, especially in regards to Cuba, because of their business ties. Now, there have been rumors for years that was the CIA involved? Was the mob involved? Was there some kind of coordination? Was Cuba involved? Was there another foreign nation involved? They've made movies, there's been shows, there have been documentaries, but Trump promised that he was going to release all of these files. And he signed the papers. Legally, they were all supposed to be released. And that is not how things played out. But let's continue with this clip. Now, this is John Kiriakou, formerly of the CIA, a CIA whistleblower, no less.
When I got out of prison, I struck up a friendship with Oliver Stone. He bought the rights to he bought the rights to one chapter of my first book, and we sold a show idea together to the History Channel that they never made. But we became friendly and remained friendly. And he put me on the spot one day. I was in his office and he said to me, you're not one of those guys that doesn't believe that the CIA killed Kennedy, are you? And I said, I think there were probably elements of the CIA that were involved in killing Kennedy, but in terms of being a CIA operation to kill Kennedy, no, I've never believed that. He said, you're so full of shit. And I said, no, I genuinely, I don't believe that the CIA killed Kennedy. And he said, who do you think killed Kennedy? I said, it was probably George Ioannidis, who was kind of a rogue CIA officer stationed in Miami. He was very close to the Cubans. And I think that we probably should take a closer look at him. But I said at the same time, I don't think we've really gotten to the bottom of where the mob was on all this. And I said, you know, we hear these stories about Carlos Marcello. We hear stories about Santo Trafficante and the things that they said in the immediate aftermath, like we finally got him, you know, and then the ties between Chicago and Jack Ruby. I said, I just don't think that's ever been fully investigated. He got genuinely angry with me that I didn't just agree with him. Yes, the CIA killed Kennedy. Well, I later struck up a friendly acquaintanceship. We're not friends, but a friendly acquaintanceship with Bobby Kennedy Jr. And he and I started talking about this one time. And he said something that I told him in response. I said, this is historical. You should write this down because I think the American people need to hear your recollections. He said, on the day that his uncle was killed, November 22nd, 1963, his mom picked him up at school early. It was like 2:30. It was minutes after the assassination. And they drove back to their home in McLean, Virginia. It was called Hickory Hill. It was a glorious, 40-acre spread with a mansion on the top of the hill. And when they pulled into the driveway, his dad was standing there talking to John McCone. John McCone was the director of the CIA. The Kennedys and the McCones were very, very close. They were both devoutly Catholic. And then 6 months earlier, Mrs. McCone died of breast cancer. And the Kennedys were genuinely worried that John McCone might do something to harm himself. And so they had him over to dinner 7 nights a week just to keep an eye on him. And then after dinner, he and Bobby Kennedy Sr. would go swimming together. So Bobby Jr. and his mom pull into the driveway. He gets out of the car. He's walking past his dad and he's looking at his dad. And he hears his dad say to McCone, "Tell me your people didn't do this." And McCone says, "I don't know who did it." He didn't say, "Wow, of course my people didn't do it. Why would you even ask such a thing like that?" He said, "I don't know who did it." So he said he always believed it was the CIA. I always believed it was elements of the CIA. But this is...
Now, I really like what he said there. And shout out to John Kiriakou. That is one individual that I would love to get the opportunity to interview, because one theory that I've always had and that I promote on this show is that, when people think about the government, they think about Big Brother, they think about the man, they think about it as one entity that's operating in unison and controlling everything and pulling all the strings. Now, I like to believe that it's a little bit more complicated than that, that you have different factions, different internal factions of different intelligence agencies, both foreign and domestic, that all coordinate with each other for their own interests. Now, if you think about who actually runs the world, and who's been running the world, you would trace it back to the banking system, the people that print the money, the people that control the resources, the people that own the land, the people that control the oil, our electricity, our power. Those are the people that really have control. Those are the people that have been having control. And, the politicians, they're more lower level. You have the people at the top, you have the intelligence agencies that are supposed to work for us and operate under the direction of our elected officials. But in reality, they kind of control the elected officials and they work for the deep state, the people that really control what's going on in our world. But now, with technology, with all these advances that we've had over the last couple of decades, there is a huge shift in power in this world. Because it's not just about oil anymore. It's not just about the weapons. It's not just about the banks, but it's about tech. The best and most valuable currency is information. Who has our information? Who has their information? Who has the ability to get it? Who has the ability to store it? So there has been a huge shift in power over the last couple of decades. And I've been spending a lot of time and energy trying to do research and decipher who is really calling the shots. What types of shifts have there been? When did they happen? And who are their allegiances? Forgive me. Who are their allegiances truly to? Because, and I can tell you one thing, it is definitely not the American people. But I want to continue with this a little bit more.
Coming up to my most important point. So I have a friend who is close to the president, and I said to him at the time that the documents were released, about a year ago, I said, thank God that the president finally released the remaining documents. And he said, no, he didn't. I said, yeah, he did. He was compelled by law. Congress passed a law twice compelling the president to release all documents related to the Kennedy assassination. He said, there are 10,000 documents that are never going to be released. And I said, why? Wow. And he said, because every single one of them points directly at Israel. And I said, oh man, that's not one that I was thinking of. He says that the Israelis were so angry that A, John Kennedy wouldn't give them nuclear technology. But more importantly, B, he was actively trying to disrupt the Israelis from acquiring nuclear technology. And they decided they had to take him out. Crazy, isn't it?
This is fascinating, John. Why is it that Israel?
Guys, forgive me. Bear with me. I'm still dealing with this bad cough. Now, I'm not trying to imply anything here. I'm not trying to say that I agree with that theory or that, co-sign the credibility of John Kiriakou's statements or the person who allegedly told him that story. But what I am saying is I've been seeing a pattern, as I'm sure a lot of you have. And we've seen this pattern with the JFK case. We've seen the pattern carry in from the 60s all the way through the 90s into the early 2000s with 9/11. We saw the pattern continue through COVID, the Epstein case, and now the Charlie Kirk assassination. And the pattern that I'm talking about, I'm not talking about Israel, but what I'm talking about is this lack of transparency. There has clearly, in every single one of those cases, there has been a cover-up of some sort to some degree. Now, is it the same people behind all of it? I can't say that. I don't know. Is there a big conspiracy where there's some kind of deep state or government agency that's behind all this stuff? I'm not even saying that. But what I am saying is that there are laws in place. Our system was designed a specific way for a reason, and that is to protect our interests and to make sure that we not only have a say, but that we know what is going on. There is supposed to be a level of transparency. And this whole chain of command and the way that our system is supposed to operate was broken a very long time ago. And as time has gone on, it has only gotten worse and worse and worse. And I believe that there are multiple loopholes in our system that have been manipulated and exploited to the point where we have been losing a lot of our rights and people don't even realize. All this information, all this personal information and metadata that keeps getting taken from us and has been getting taken from us for decades now and is getting stored in all of these data centers, I find it to be a direct contradiction and a breaking of our Fourth Amendment rights for privacy. We are not supposed there. The Fourth Amendment is there for a reason. We are supposed to be guaranteed privacy and protection from unlawful search and seizure. And that is what they've been doing to us. And it's at the point now that they are literally coming into our homes. Maybe not personally, like people coming in themselves without a warrant, but the invasion of privacy that we're getting, that with all the technology that we know that the CIA, the FBI, all these different intelligence agencies have, that they can see us through our Wi-Fi. They could take the speakers in our television sets and turn them into microphones. Every single house in America is bugged. And they are just recording everything and taking all this information and putting it into these data centers. And something needs to be done about it. We are losing our voice. We are losing our power. We are supposed to have a First Amendment. We are supposed to have the freedom of speech. Now, there's loopholes with that too. If I say the wrong thing here, I could get deplatformed from YouTube. They'll say that YouTube is a private business. And if I'm saying something that goes against their terms or what they believe how things should be, then that's it. They have the right to pull the plug on me. Now, normally on the surface, I would say that that makes a lot of sense. But when you look at how the world is, and then you think about Operation Mockingbird and how before civilians like me had these types of platforms, had this technology to use my voice and to spread my research and my word, what did we rely on? We relied on the newspapers. We relied on the television, right? And now we find out years later that the CIA was controlling that the entire time, and that it was also being influenced by foreign intelligence. So I want to ask you guys, and I'm serious right now, when in the last 100 years did Americans really have the First Amendment right to speak up? When did we ever truly have it? When did we ever have a voice? It appears to me that it's always just been this giant way to manipulate us. Just like with our elections. All in 2016, make no mistake, in 2016, the most popular candidate was Bernie Sanders. And I am not a Democrat. I was 100% Team Trump from the primaries all the way through the election, and I celebrated like hell when he won. Little did I know it really didn't even matter. But that's besides the point. But in 2016, Bernie Sanders was by far the most popular candidate, and he beat Hillary Clinton in the primaries. He should have ran for president. And I believe, and I even believed back then, that had Bernie Sanders run against Donald Trump, that he would have been elected president. But what happened? It didn't matter that he won the primaries, because the way the system was set up was the super PACs, the donors, the lobbyists, they had the power to decide who was going to actually run. That tells me that our entire election system, the whole primary process, is about curating the two people that are going to run in this broken, failed two-party political system that we have, which at the end of the day, it really does feel like a uniparty. But Bernie Sanders, in all honesty, probably should have been the president in 2016. The people did not have their voice. The way that we are told, that we're brought up in school to believe that our system and our elections and our news and our information, it's all a lie. It is all a lie. Just like the story that they gave us about Lee Harvey Oswald shooting and killing John F. Kennedy was a lie. And just like the story they're trying to give us today about Tyler Robinson assassinating Charlie Kirk with a 30-06 is a lie as well. And I think that there is a strong parallel between those two cases, that the cover-up is very clear. And that's not to say that we know exactly who killed these individuals or why. I mean, in the case of Charlie, there's still a lot of people that are questioning whether or not he's even dead. But I'm not even going to get into that today. Although, maybe in the near future, I'll do a live where we can get into that and see both sides of the argument. I'm still, I mean, the majority of the time I've been under the belief that Charlie is dead. But as time's gone on, I've seen evidence that's made me think twice, a lot of which is Erika Kirk. I mean, you see this woman. She's been in the spotlight ever since Charlie left the board. And we've caught her in so many lies. We've seen so many reasons. I don't want to say to judge her, but just to call her out for being inauthentic and not being genuine. And she just seems so cold and just such a, I don't know. I'm not trying to put down a grieving widow, but she just doesn't seem like the person or the woman that a guy like Charlie, a Christian with that level of intelligence, like, she just doesn't seem like the kind of girl that he would want to marry. Now, did she have him fooled? I don't know. There's other reports going around now saying that she may have taken his virginity. And I mean, that's kind of hard to believe too, because that would have made him what, 25? I mean, maybe. Again, I don't know Charlie Kirk. I never knew him. I never met him. He wasn't my friend. He wasn't my neighbor. He wasn't my relative, but when you look at Erika, although I don't know Erika personally, I've known a lot of girls like her, if you know what I mean. And I don't know. Personally, I think Charlie was a little smarter than that. But, that's another story for another day. I want to get back to this whole Tulsi Gabbard story for a minute, though. And right now, I'm going to pull up a video from Nate, Valhalla VFT. And this is a really good take, and it's a really good breakdown. If you're not following Valhalla VFT, you're really missing out, because when it comes to content creators that are always up to speed and just drop of the dime, day to day, got the news, got good takes, accurate information, he really is one of the best in the business. But let's check it out.
Raid the office of the Director of National Intelligence, who technically sits above the CIA. That would be insane, right? As you can see here, the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, leads and coordinates all 18 U.S. intelligence agencies, including the CIA. And as we see here, structurally, you have the President of the United States, and then just below that, Tulsi Gabbard's position. Below that, the Director of the CIA. So John Radcliffe is actually supposed to be reporting to Tulsi Gabbard, not having the authority to raid her office. Now, would the story actually make sense if we try to break all this down? Why might the CIA actually do this? Would they have the authority to do this? Again, it does seem a little bizarre to me, the idea that the CIA just showed up to Tulsi Gabbard's office with their badges, I don't know, walked in and said, "We need all your boxes of the files." And Tulsi Gabbard, who would have outranked them, couldn't just say, "Get the fuck out of my office until the president tells me to do this." I don't know. Or maybe it was actually directed by the president. And why might this have been actually directed by the president? Well, we have to look at what those files actually are. Okay, so supposedly it's the JFK files. Those are the ones I think are most important, but also MKUltra files. Now, we all are very well aware of the JFK files, the controversy around his unaliving, but the MKUltra files are also very interesting. And why might the President of the United States not want the American public to get access to these files that Tulsi Gabbard was declassifying? Let's say Tulsi Gabbard was working on declassifying the JFK files, and there just happens to be a huge section of those files that haven't been released that show who exactly was behind the unaliving of JFK. A certain country that seems to control Donald Trump may not want those documents being released, and perhaps the CIA going and getting those boxes would be quite beneficial in stopping that information.
And again, the point of this video today, this live, I'm not trying to make any implications. I'm not trying to, there's no wink, wink or any kind of subliminal messages. The point of this is to point out the lack of transparency, the broken trust between the American people and the American government. I know that there's a lot of different people that have different theories about different foreign nations and who's really responsible for what and who's really pulling the strings. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Like I said, I believe that within our own government, that there are different factions in all of these different agencies, all these three-letter agencies, the FBI, the CIA, the ones that a lot of content creators are afraid to criticize or call out by name. But at this point, I mean, my channel's so small and I'm having my ups and downs. I'm not using the code words anymore. I'm not going to sit here and try to trick the algorithm. I mean, I see how good the AI is, and I think that they're catching up pretty quickly anyway. So at this point, you kind of just whatever. That's another story. But I believe that there are different factions within these organizations that have their own agendas, that have their own people that they're answering to. I mean, you just look at our politicians. You pay attention to all their different donors, where their money comes from. And it seems to be human nature that people take care of their own. And we see that same sort of tribalism with different races, ethnicities, religions. And a lot of the reasons why people use terms like anti-Semitic is because right now the spotlight has been on Israel. It's been on the Jews. But it's important for us to acknowledge the fact that this happens all over the world. All over the world. And even in America, like we see this same sense of tribalism. You see the white middle class seems to stick more with the white middle class. You go into the minority neighborhoods, you have the Spanish sticking together with the Spanish, the blacks sticking together with the blacks. Like there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. As long as people are being honest and operating with integrity, everybody's going to always take care of their own. It's just like with your family. You know, if you're out on the street and you're out in the world, you're always going to look out for your family first. So it's important for us to not get confused by all this propaganda and all this hate and fall for the traps of these hate speeches, because I believe that part of the agenda for the deep state is to try to trap us into getting the American people to cross certain lines with the way that they speak in public, with the way that they speak on social media, and maybe even potentially with violent acts, so that they could justify the plans that they have to take away even more of our rights than they already are. And we see it all the time. You see these guys at the ADL and different politicians and different people saying, oh, we got to watch this. If you go on social media, you look at the rise in anti-Semitism, the rise in this, the rise in hate speech. We used to see it before when you know, Obama was president, and there was this big push. It seemed like there was this big push with the gay and trans agenda. You know, we've seen this. It's almost like it's cyclical at this point, where every couple of years you see a different group getting the spotlight that seems to get this big push and gets shoved down everybody's throat. And then there's a backlash and people start to speak out against it. And then the people that are speaking out against what they're getting fed from the media are getting accused of being hateful. And I've seen it. I'm 37 years old. I've been seeing this for years, time and time again. I've seen it with the blacks. I've seen it with the gays. And now I'm seeing it with the Jews. And at the end of the day, when I go into the street, when I live in New York, when I'm at the grocery store, when I'm here, when I'm there, when I'm in public interacting with people, people aren't looking at each other with crooked eyes like, oh, that's a black person, that's a gay person, that's a Jewish person. Like all this shit, it's on TV, it's on the internet. It's when you go too deep down these rabbit holes and you're too glued to the screen. But when you touch grass and you're out in the real world, you realize pretty quickly that we all have way more in common than we have dividing us. And people, at the end of the day, we are all struggling. The majority of us are struggling both financially, both with our family lives, trying to keep everything together, especially if you have kids, whether you're married or not. I mean, the world is becoming a much more expensive place every single day. And we are all grinding it out. People aren't waking up in the morning thinking about hating on people. They're thinking about trying to survive. And when you have these problems and you go on social media and all you see is war and hate and bloodshed and stories about children being abused and this and that, you are going to be angry, especially when you're broke, especially when you go to the grocery store and you see the prices of everything going through the roof and the rent's due and you're behind on everything. All these different factors play into our stress. And yes, every now and then you're going to want to take it out on somebody. That is human nature. And that's why I'm saying that we need to be careful, because there are people that know this. All this data that they're taking from all of us, it's getting stored. It's getting analyzed with AI. They're profiling us. And we have to ask ourselves, what are they doing with this data? How are they profiling us? And why? What is the end goal here? And there is no reason, as far as I'm concerned, to trust this government at all, between 9/11 and COVID and the Epstein files and seeing the America's role with Epstein and now seeing everything that's going on with the cover up with the Charlie Kirk murder. There is no reason to trust this government. But me, as an American that loves my country, I have to believe that there is at least one faction of good in our government that is trying to make the change, that is trying to get to right the ship and get us back on the right track. You know, I hear some people talk about Thomas Massie, and there are some people that don't even trust him. And like that blows my mind. You know, I think that Thomas Massie needs all the support from everybody in America right now. I think that we need more people like Thomas Massie. We need more people like Joe Kent. I think we need more people like Tulsi Gabbard. And, you know, there's a lot of questions about her right now. There are a lot of questions about her right now. But are the questions because of her and her character or anything that she has done and said? Or is she just right in the thick of it? Is she in the trenches fighting for us? And that's a question that I can't answer right now. I don't know. But I cannot assume the worst. Even if the amount of hope that I have is little, I have to try to keep looking for that light at the end of the tunnel. But I want to keep playing this for a minute.
From coming out. Now, what about MKUltra? Now, if you don't know what MKUltra was, it was a CIA program that was designed to try to figure out how to manipulate and modify human behavior. They use things like drugs, hallucinations, sleep deprivation, all these different things to try to control people. And why people find this interesting is, I don't know, it just kind of seems like these people kind of fit the profile for the MKUltra project and are perfect for making patsies. Just something to think about. And if we think about what's happened here with these people that Donald Trump has never wanted to talk about ever again after those events, well, maybe there's some things in the files that pertain to why these type of people keep doing these types of things. And we wouldn't want anybody to know about patsies or fake assassination attempts, would we? So where are we at this story now? Did this happen? Did this not happen? Is it fake? Is it real? Is it a cover-up? Because we have dual reporting coming out currently as of literally right now still about this story, right? You got over here, breaking, CIA just raided Tulsi Gabbard's office. Holy smokes. Then you have the DNI spokesman coming out and saying, this is false. The CIA did not raid the DNI's office. And then all of us who initially immediately said, well, this is obviously fake because Fox News and Jesse Waters are saying it's real. Well, now we've kind of switched on this, as you see here from Patriotic Blanche. He says, pro tip, when the president says the CIA has not and did not raid the office of Tulsi Gabbard today to steal JFK and MKUltra documents, that equates to the CIA most certainly raided the office of Tulsi Gabbard to steal JFK and MKUltra documents. So again, what we really have here, two competing stories. This is some bullshit, fake psyop that the CIA decided to try to do this, and none of this ever actually happened, even though a whistleblower came out and said it did. Or we have the fact that this did happen because the president of the United States and maybe the people that control him most certainly do not want what's in those JFK files and the MKUltra files coming out to the American public. Which one?
Now, chat, I want to take a second to ask you guys, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this story is real? I'm going to start a poll right now. Now, I want you guys to notice something. I'm not asking you if the CIA raided Tulsi Gabbard's office for those files. I'm saying, did someone? Now, there was a whistleblower. Let me see if I believe I have this clip too. Said that there was a whistleblower that said that this took place. Oh, I had it. Start.
I kind of got dragged into this. I don't want any part of it.
That's not it. I don't know if you guys heard that. That's a different video. Didn't mean to play that one. Oh, here it is right here.
When the digs ceased operations, the CIA also took back 40 boxes of JFK files and MKUltra files being processed for declassification by DNI Gabbard.
Now, I don't know if this is the same hearing and whistleblower that with the other news that I heard yesterday, but I heard that there was also somebody that testified about Bill Gates and Fauci and what they knew about COVID and when they knew it. I'm not going to get deep into that today. I'll see how long all this goes and where we're at. Maybe we'll touch back on it a little later. For now, I kind of want to stay on these topics. But again, all of this comes back down to the broken trust between the American government and the American people. When you can only be lied to so many times and have so many lives shoved down your throat and be gaslit into submission for so long until you literally start going crazy. The best analogy that I could think of right now is, imagine you're married. All right. Imagine you're married and you love your partner and you've been together for a really long time and you thought everything was great. And then you find out that your partner cheated. You know, you don't have the smoking gun, but you're pretty sure. And you confront them and they just give you an excuse and they lie and they swear on everything. They swear on you. They swear on your children. They would never do that. And you like deep down, you don't believe them, but you want to believe them. So you choose to believe them. And then a little time goes by. And then you find more evidence. And it's another person. And you confront them again. And it's the same thing. Except this time they're sweating a little more. They're a little more nervous. Their story isn't as good. The evidence is a little stronger. But they're still just lying to you. And you still want to believe it because you feel like you don't really have a choice. You have kids. You've been with this person for so long. You have a home. What would you do without them? And imagine this goes on throughout your entire relationship, you know, for years, maybe decades. That is how I feel about the American government and the American people. I feel like the government has just been cheating on us and just cheating us in general for years and years and years, to the point where it's like systematic. Like there's no intention of being faithful. There's like being honest. It's not even a thought. Like this is just how it is. They're going to do what they're going to do what they want to do. They're going to do what's best for them. And we could just take it or try our luck. And it's just really, really sad, you know, especially for me, because like I love America. I love this country. I love what this country is supposed to stand for. Like growing up as a kid, you know, thinking that the world, like knowing that the world was a dark place and that all these other countries that, you know, they were under some sort of tyranny and that they weren't allowed to speak up. And if they did, that they'd be executed, and that they didn't all have clean water and good food. You know, it's like everyone's heard the saying, if like, you know, you got the kid at the dinner table that doesn't want to eat his meal and he's sitting there playing with his food and the mom says, hey, there's starving kids in Africa, like eat your food, appreciate what you have, you know, like that whole mantra. It's like America was always supposed to be the country that set the standard for the rest of the world. And we were supposed to look out for the little people. We were supposed to spread democracy. We were supposed to make the entire world great like us. You know, that is what I always thought. That is what I always believed. And just being 37 years old and being around the block a couple times and doing all the research that I've done, that is just not the case. And it's heartbreaking. It really is. Like, and I'm not even just talking about everything going on with the Middle East. It's like all over the world. Like, to think that I spent my whole life thinking that America was like saving the world. And the reality is America can't even save America. Like, we are so buried in debt right now. America is about $40 trillion in debt. And we are just getting bled dry. We're in wars that we don't want, that are not going to benefit us in any way. And it appears that instead of the government and the people running the government trying to fix these problems, trying to end these wars, trying to not just make the world great, but just make America great, it appears that the American government and the people that control it are at war with the American people. Maybe not a physical war, but it's certainly a psychological war. The lying, the psyops, the gaslighting, the manipulation. Our government is in at war with us psychologically. I don't think anyone can really deny that at this point. And now, when you know that and you accept that, and then you think about everything that's going on with these data centers and all this information that they're taking from us and the way that they're profiling us, what are they going to do with it once they have it? What are they going to do with all this information? What are they going to do with us when when the middle class, when the American people are not the driving force that's driving the economy? What are we going to do, or what are they going to do with us when they don't need us anymore? When AI has officially replaced everybody's jobs, when they do create the robots to replace the human workforce for the labor, when we're just taking up space, when we're taking up air, when we're, I don't know, our carbon footprint. Remember that? Climate change. First it was global warming, and then all of a sudden that started getting debunked. So then they changed the term to climate change. And then you start hearing about all these different things. You get all these scumbag billionaires that are flying their private jets every day all around, emitting all this carbon, having these big fancy meetings about how, us little people that don't have private jets can barely afford our cars, that we need to stop eating so much meat because the cows might be farting too much. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know how anybody can believe this. And then everything with COVID, and one thing that I really would like to see, especially now that we're finding out that there might be another virus that is giving some people cause for concern. What I want to see is people like Bill Gates, people like Anthony Fauci, people in the media, politicians. I want to see them all take a blood test to see how many of them really took the COVID vaccine. That's something that I would really like to know. If there was a way to get some kind of third party or private company that we could trust to blood test at least a couple of these individuals, because I want to find out if they really took those COVID shots, if they really took those jabs, those boosters, and how it affected their health, if there was a different variation maybe of these vaccines. Because I don't trust any of these people at all. And when you see the way that they talk and the way that they talk about us and our rights, especially when they start saying things like, free speech is dangerous when it's not controlled, when it's not regulated. Social media platforms need to be held accountable for the things that people say. And notice that they only say this when it's people that are questioning them, when it's people that's criticizing them. But I don't want to, I'm starting to get off topic now. I don't want to get too off track. Let's keep going with Valhalla for a minute.
One is probably more likely. I honestly, I don't know, guys. Maybe all of it is one giant psyop, this entire thing to, again, just distract us, keep us confused. Because think about all the shit that's been going on the last couple of weeks. You got, obviously, all of this most likely designed to cover up the big E files, but you also got the failing Iran war, gas prices out of control, the economy cratering in. We got the president setting up fake attempts on him at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The alien files have been released. Now we have the CIA raiding Tulsi Gabbard's office. Just a lot of distractions, it feels like. So what's real, what's not, I don't know. I will say that I do think that probably President Trump and his good friend Bibi do not want whatever is in these files actually coming out. I do think there's a pretty good chance that Tulsi Gabbard may have started to declassify these and immediately went, oh, maybe we don't want to let the people see this. And they might be saying, well, why might Tulsi Gabbard be protecting this? Why might she not want this to come out? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because this is her crew. Maybe, I don't know. Just something to think about and take into consideration while we're looking at this. But then the story is actually getting even weirder because the intelligence officials, clarified via Katie Pavlich from the DNI, confirmed that no raid.
I'm going to play this video out. I'm going to continue it. I just want to say one thing. And again, shout out to Nate. I find him to be one of the most reliable and credible sources of information on the internet. But one thing I just want to point out, I'm not saying that I disagree with him when he showed that picture of Tulsi Gabbard with Miriam Adelson, but when you're on that level Okay, when you're in government, even if you're a celebrity of any sort, and you're going to be at different events with other people of a certain status, you're going to end up having conversations with people, and there are cameras everywhere. It is very easy to end up taking a quick picture with somebody. So I wouldn't jump to the conclusion just based on a couple of photos saying that that's somebody's crew. I think that, you know, you want to see some more receipts before you rush to any judgment. Not saying that they're not there. I'm just saying, me personally, I haven't looked. I just wouldn't use the photo as a reference. I would want to see some type of money trail, if you guys know what I mean. I just wanted to point that out. I think, you know, I think it's important to always remain objective. That's all I'm saying.
It took place that day on Gabbard's office. However, they're still saying that CIA personnel had removed the documents from the National Reconnaissance Office last year during a government shutdown and continues to withhold them from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. So now Tulsi Gabbard's team is saying that while there was no raid on her office, that the CIA did actually take these, but this was a year ago and they're refusing to return them. So maybe the whistleblower is right. I don't know. Again, just very bizarre story. The reporting's all over the place. What does this actually mean? I don't know. In a world of everything being staged and fake, it's hard to know which way the wind's blowing on this one. A lot of people are talking about, would the CIA actually be able to do this? They don't have the authority to do it. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, probably. The CIA doesn't really give a shit about the authority of anyone, including the President of the United States. We've seen that forever. The President of the United States essentially is beholden to the CIA. And if you don't do what the CIA tells you to do, well, there's only one president we've seen stand up against the CIA. And well, yeah, those JFK files are related to that exactly, actually.
The last president to control the CIA? No one had actual control over the CIA. Ever, because most of the time, with one pertinent, horrible example, presidents have gone along with the CIA. Of course, the one horrible, shocking, disgusting example is John F. Kennedy, who famously said that he would like to take the CIA and tear it into 1,000 pieces. And maybe those were his last words, in essence.
Yep, only one U.S. president had the balls to stand up to the CIA. And again, we saw what happened there. So what's my final thoughts and feelings on this? Again, initially, Jesse Waters reports it. I immediately toss it in the bin as fake. Fox News then walks it back. All of the MAGA shills start walking it back. And I, again, perk my eyebrows up. And I will say, I think the important thing to look at here is, what are the files supposedly that the CIA does not want released? The JFK files, the MKUltra files. And I would say both of those, the current administration and our greatest ally, most certainly have no interest in the American public ever getting their eyes on. And because of that, I do think there's probably a decent chance that, in whatever context this is, that the CIA may actually have taken those files and will not be releasing them to the American people. And maybe this was all just one big distraction, psyop, slop story to make sure we know this is why in the future, when they don't ever release those files that are supposed to be released, well, we can't now because they're missing. Would not be shocked to see that be how this narrative is spun down the road in the long run. But
again, definitely give Nate a follow. I'm going to take a minute now to read some of these supers, and I want to ask you that you guys take a minute. If you haven't already, please like the video. If you're enjoying the content, if you like the message that I'm trying to deliver, the things that I'm saying, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I am somewhat of a new content creator. I'm moving into a new time slot. I normally would stream, a couple times a week at night. I'm trying to stream more during the day. I'm trying to start doing like a Monday through Friday type deal in the morning. I plan on starting between 9 and 10 a.m. So the combination of moving to a different time slot, being a new creator, speaking on controversial topics, and not even really using the code words, I do have kind of an uphill battle here. and everything counts. Every like counts, every comment counts. You know, they monitor like the chat rate, the activity in the chat, if it's positive comments, if there's a lot of activity, even the supers. You know, I'm not going to lie, I'm finding this out. And I'm somebody that likes to send supers. And normally I would send like bigger ones, but I'm finding out now that when people send supers, that it could trigger spikes in activity because it's just like a higher rated level of engagement. So if you're the type to send supers, I don't need you to send big ones. I would rather, if you're going to do it, send smaller ones, you know, consistently. And that would help a lot more because right now, like I said, I'm all about just trying to grow my channel and just trying to keep the engagement up. So anything and everything helps. But now we have Paula Wilson, new member. Thank you very much. And yeah, I do members only. Right now, I'm doing it once a week. I'm trying to, as I get, you know, some growth, I'm going to be doing it at least twice a week. And we have a lot of fun on the members only. The members only lives are really a lot of fun. That's where I get more into like the drama. Like I noticed a couple people in the chat. I see that you guys are referencing a certain channel and certain situation, which I'm not really trying to get too much into. I don't want to give it a breath of fresh air. Yeah, that guy came on last night and it was not good. It was really sad. I watched a little bit of it and yeah, sucks to be that guy, but you know what? He deserves it. He deserves it. And he's still not taking accountability. Still not taking accountability, still trying to play the victim and even have his wife come on and try to act like, oh, he's such a good guy. He cares about you guys so much. You know, like, again, I'm not trying to kick the guy when he's down. And trust me when I say he's down. His viewership is down. Like last I checked, it was down like 84% in a week. And that was because he talked a lot of shit. He tried to say a lot of negative and basically flat out lies about me and people that I cared about. And it got leaked out and it just happened to be in a video that ended up getting a lot of exposure. And he made a big deal about it and lied more. So I brought receipts. I put out a video. I sent it to the right people. It got out. And, you know, he's been having a hard time ever since. And that's what happens. And listen, none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, okay? Everybody sins. And nobody, like, I don't think that there's really anything that any of these content creators can do or have done that's, like, unforgivable. You know what I mean? Like, we all make mistakes. But you have to take accountability. You know, I can respect somebody that no matter what they did or what they said, that they come out and they just own it. Like, yeah, I did it. I said it. This is why, or the reasons doesn't even matter. Just take accountability and repent. Do the 180. Do the right thing. Be honest. Like, own your shit. Own your mistakes. And I'll respect you. I'll leave you alone. But you keep trying to drag it out. You keep trying to spin it. You keep trying to twist it up and act like you're getting bullied and we're the bad guys and you're like Mr. Innocent and you know what I mean? All this crap. It's like, I'm sorry. I can't respect that. I can't respect that. It makes me want to just go harder. It makes me want to just freaking pound on you more. But I'm not trying to do it. You know, I've got a lot of big things going on. I got a lot of big plans for this channel and I'm not trying to get too wrapped up in the drama. You know, like I said, with the members only stuff, like, yeah, I'll touch on it more. I'll be a little more open. Sometimes we troll some of the X spaces and, you know, like we have a lot of fun. But as far as like my morning show, my morning lives that I'm going to be doing, I'm really not trying to be too into the drama unless I get provoked. And if I get provoked, that's a different story. That's a different story. All right, but we got moving on. We have Anne Marie. Happy Friday. Let's go. Nice shirt, by the way. Thank you very much. $20. I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, I'm trying to be more professional. I did my hair. I got the button up. You know, like I'm trying to change the vibe a little bit and just see how it goes. You know, like, sorry, again, I'm also trying to shake this cough. But, you know, I'm having fun with this. And you know, like tomorrow night, Saturday night, it's me and Danks. Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Me and Danks have our show. I believe we have a really big and special guest tomorrow. I'm not going to say it yet because I'm like 90% sure, but I'm not 100% sure. So I know Danks is going to be doing his, actually, no, I don't know. I think Danks is going to be doing his members only tomorrow. I got to see. But I'll probably be streaming again later. I might do a members only at some point. So you come on to the members only and I'll talk about who the guest is, unless Danks or the person announces it. But regardless whether or not we have this guest, we have a really big episode for tomorrow night, and it is going to be a lot of fun. But gifted 1 membership, Elena, thank you very much. That is very kind of you. I appreciate that. You know, and that's a great way to support and help the channel grow too. You know, like the memberships help. They really do. You guys don't even know. Like this YouTube game, it is really a grind. It's a grind, especially in the beginning. Like, oh my God. Real Mama Bear, $2. Thank you very much. Can you tell us the origin of the name Bayes? Actually, yeah, I can. And I have a bunch of times. All right. So basically, last year when Trump said you guys are still talking about Epstein, and I realized that he had no intention of releasing the files and we weren't going to get the truth, it just really triggered something with me, and I started going like really deep down the rabbit holes and trying to do research. So this is also around the same time that I started getting comfortable with AI and using a lot of AI. So I was looking up different methods. Like I wasn't just using it as like a Google, like to like search for different details. I would say like, okay, if I was a journalist, or if I was this, or if I was a CIA analyst, like how would I go about doing this research, and how would I know, you know, what theories to go towards, what to leave, like how would I differentiate this information? And it was actually ChatGPT that said that probability-based formulas are crucial when it comes to predictive behavior, and that Bayesian theorem, or Bayes, is a probability-based math formula that is used by and basically used by intelligence. It's used by NASA. It's used by big pharma when they're making vaccines. It's even used by like Netflix. Like that's how they determine what videos and shows that they're going to recommend for you to watch next based on what you've already watched. So I started using Bayes with my research, and it just worked out really well. I ended up, you know, getting my own little formula and workflow, and I spent months going down so many different rabbit holes, all the, you know, everything from Epstein to the pyramids. Like I literally spent months like doing it as like a full-time job. My girl was not happy about it at the time. And then it's like, you know, I just loved it. I loved doing the research and I loved learning. And that ended up leading me to watching more content and, you know, watching people like Ian Carroll and sending supers and trying to give tips and share my information. And then he said, like, why don't you just make content? So I'm like, all right. So I started making some videos and I ended up using the name Bayes, and it just stuck. You know, I actually made a freestyle, like a rap, and sent it to Ian, and he played it on his live stream. And then he's like, Bayes is based. And then boom, before you know it, that's like the name of the show. So yeah, that is the origin story with Bayes. But my real name is Jimmy. You call me Jimmy, call me Bayes, call me RealBayes, you know, whatever, you know, it doesn't matter to me. I hear a lot of both these days. So, but yes, that is the story. Keats, $2. Thank you very much. Fax Bayes, heart salute. Thank you, buddy. Mad World, $5. Oh, I got something I'm sending you today, actually. So you could expect that in a couple of days. I owe you a couple of shirts. You chat, love you, Bayes. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Hit the like and share this out. RealBayes merch, RealBayes.com. That is true. I do have a merch shop up now. It is RealBayes.com. And there is a promo code if you guys are interested. Promo code, I believe I have it set at free speech. And it's for 30% off. Again, another way to support the channel if you want. And I'm gonna have a lot. I'm working on a couple of designs now. I gotta update the shop. I only set it up like a couple weeks ago, but I have a lot of different designs and clothes that are gonna be more summer friendly. That should be rolling out next week. So look out for that. We got Death, $2. Happy Ascension Day. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Tawny, super $2. Yo, Tawny, you're a real one too. Yo, I love how like my whole team is like showing up right now. Like so many of you guys that are usually with me that when I start these streams at night, I'm seeing you show up in the morning. You guys got to let me know in the chat if you prefer the daytime, like this morning shift, or if you like it at night, so I could kind of coordinate, because I'm going to do both. But my plan is to shift to more consistently during the day. And then if I have time, if you know, depending on what's going on, I could do another live later, members only, figure it out. But I want to stay in coordination with you guys too. Jeannie, $2. I hope you're feeling well. Jeannie was having some problems recently. I don't mean to put your stuff out there, but I know you talked about it in the Discord. But welcome back. I wish you well. Love our light and love squad. Yes, that is what we go by. Danks likes to call us basters, which I think sounds a little raunchy. I prefer that we are the light squad, but whatever. I don't pick these names. You guys do. So whatever we're going to be referred to as. We got Jessica. Do you watch Black Scout Survival? $2. Thank you very much. No, I never heard of it. I could check it out, but I'll be honest with you guys. I spend so much time working on my content and coordinating with other content creators. I don't really watch shows anymore. I don't really watch movies. I do want to finish The Boys. Like any shows that I'd already been watching that I've like invested time in already, I want to watch more of and see how it ends. But I have not been investing in any other new shows. I do want to see the Mortal Kombat movie, though. I grew up on Mortal Kombat, so I do want to see that because that one looks good. But Black Scout Survival, I'm not. Is that like a regular show or is that a YouTube channel? You guys got to let me know. $5 from Kaylee. Found you on Facebook a few months ago. Love the content. Keep going, Max. Can't wait to see you rise to the top. Well, thank you very much. And again, if you guys want to follow me on Facebook, so all my socials, I go by RealBayes. I have a Facebook that's RealBayes too, but I haven't really been posting on it. I plan on posting on it more in the future. But on Facebook, I go by my real name, Jimmy Gallagher, although it has the Bays on the banner in the background, so you'll recognize it. But that's one of my biggest followed or most followed accounts, I should say. I got like 21,000 followers on there. So I've been neglecting the RealBayes Facebook, but I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. But yeah, if you're not following me on Facebook or X, please do, because that helps as well. We got Bayou Peach, $2. Love the show. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you. You've been around now pretty consistently. We got Amory again, $5. Hell yes. I was up till almost 3 a.m. watching you and Danks last weekend. Ha ha ha. So hell yes. Hell yes, what? That you still are you talking about looking forward to this week's show with me and Danks? Or hell yes, you like it better in the morning and you prefer not having to stay up till 3 a.m.? Or hell yes, you like staying up till 3 a.m. Got to be a little more specific, Anne-Marie, especially because I know you're one of the real ones. You're one of the regulars for me and Danks. So I definitely want you to be able to watch at a time that's best for you. And we got Destroy the Blob. Great show, bro. $2. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, listen, I'm trying. And I'm trying to be more, professional. I'm trying to curse less. Like, I'm always trying to be better. Like, I'm still me. I'm still the same person. I still want the smoke. You know, like, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I'm conflicted. You know, because part of me just wants to be, you know, Like, I want my credibility. I want my recognition. I want to be taken serious in this business and give good information. But at the same time, like, I grew up differently, you know? Like, I grew up like battle rapping and stuff. And like this whole like YouTube content creator thing, like, there are so many frauds out there. And I could smell them a mile away as it is. And then once you start working with other creators and you get to know other things behind the scenes, you get a better idea of who's who. And like, I'm not going to lie, like, there are just certain people that do this that it's like, I'm not trying to be petty. I'm not trying to like go out of my way and start drama, but it's like, give me a reason. You know what I mean? Like, give me a reason. And the last one that I is having a bad week right now, I didn't even know who that guy was. Never heard of him, never watched him, was nowhere near my radar. And he just talked a lot of crap. And he didn't just talk crap. It was like personal attacks and lies about my character, about my beliefs, about my work, like on every level. And I didn't even air it out publicly. It was on a members only live. And then a clip ended up getting out. And then I posted a little more, but it was like older. And it's like the guy just made such a big deal about it. And just like I say, how I was talking about with the broken trust between the government constantly lying to the people, and how I kind of look at like the government as like that abusive, cheating partner that just constantly cheats and lies to their partner. Like, it's a much different analogy here, but it's the same concept. It's dishonesty. It's someone not doing the right thing, somebody continuing to lie and gaslight and try to act like I'm the one doing something wrong, or I'm the one that's crazy. And I'm just like, you know what? You want it, you got it. You want the attention, you got the attention. And yeah, I think that this person really regrets it now, but it is what it is. I'm not going to be stuck on it. But if you know, you know. And if you don't know, you can watch some of my most recent content and you'll catch up pretty damn quickly. Dale is in the building, $20. The light. Love. Wait, what's that first logo? I'm like so blind. It's so bad. I need glasses. But yes, Light Squad all day. And Dale, I haven't heard from you in a little bit. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. And we got another one here. We got Real Mama Bear again, $2. Thank you very much. Ian sent me here. Thanks for the detailed reply. Yeah, no, listen, I am a very honest and pretty transparent individual. You can usually always count on me for that. All right, one more, and then we're going to get back to some content. Bayou Peach again, $2. Days would be better to grow your channel. I heard that. I did hear that. Again, as far as that goes with the day and nights and whatnot, it's not so much about what's best to grow my channel. It's just like in my personal life, because like I have a wife, I have a bunch of kids, I have responsibilities, so I'm kind of juggling back and forth on what works best. And, right now, I think that daytime would be better for what I have going on in my life. But, I have another clip that I want to play here. I haven't watched this interview yet. I watched the beginning, but I haven't watched this part. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was recommended to me, and I thought maybe we could check it out together. Now, this is Candace Owens being interviewed by Elizabeth Lane.
Over and over and over again, over every little infraction that is meant to psychologically and financially wear you down. This is what the Daily Wire did to me. And when I say every little infraction, I mean, it can be in their head. It doesn't have to be real. They per your contract, can drag you into court. So that was the next 2 years of my life, was fighting them in arbitration court for things that I didn't do. I did not do these things. I will say the one thing I did do that I was guilty of, and actually, if we had made it to the hearing, I was going to admit, yeah, I did an episode defending Brett Cooper, and I stand by that. I don't need to lie to you. I owe you $300K because you harassed her, and I have a backbone. Yeah, I will gladly ding me. I will pay you $300K for standing up for a 22-year-old girl. And you know what? When this filing's over, I'm going to frame it and tell my kids that money's on everything.
So good. This is why people love you so much. You are just not only not afraid, but people can be stupidly not afraid and go for the wrong thing. No, you're like.
Hold on, let me slow it down a little bit. I didn't realize that's all. Oh my God, it's only at 1 1/4. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I watch so much content that it's like there's only so much time in a day. So when I'm trying to like keep up and watch content, I usually have it at like 50% fat, you know, like a much faster speed. Sometimes it's 2x, sometimes it's like 1.5. It also depends on who it is, how fast they talk anyway, what else I'm trying to do, if I'm, you know, multitasking, like what I could process. And you know, sometimes when I edit my clips, especially because I'm so used to hearing content at faster speeds, that when I edit, that I'll normally speed up myself because it just sounds more normal to me. And a lot of times people catch it and they're like, why do you do that? Sometimes they like it. They say it helps with the retention better. Like just keep things moving. You know what I mean? But that's the reason that I do it. It's because I like listen to everything at much faster speeds. I don't know. Chat, let me know if you've ever done that. If you guys speed it up too to try to keep up with everybody. It's a great tactic if you want. If you really think about it. If you watch, you know, let's say 20 hours of content in a week and you're able to like speed it up 25%, you're saving like 5 hours. You know, just saying.
No, there's much more things to this life than your own ass, money, and we're, you know, I love it. I love it.
I made a conscious decision because I was watching them begin to do to her, who she does not have she's not involved in the Israel-Palestine debate. Like, it's just not what she does. She does cute pop culture stuff, but it's a cult. You're not allowed to leave. And so they will smear you and they want to destroy you on the way out. And so what I lived through with them, I'm actually happy now that we're at the end where people can see it publicly, because they're just now getting a glimpse when they brought back my channels, how weird that was. I'm like, you guys have not seen anything. Okay. You think that's weird? Them bringing back my social channels, doing, I think Jeremy's show, we actually counted. He's done 19 episodes. 17 have been about me and Tucker. Like, okay. This is not a show.
These people are obsessed.
This is more stalking. And the same lawyers that sued me for those 2 years is now Brian Harpole's lawyer. I know how this works. I get it. I understand what is happening.
Yeah.
And if
The
I have to be the
machine, it's a machine.
person to demonstrate to people how this whole thing works, if my life has to go through it, I'm built for it. That's fine. Let the whole system crash and burn so that you can see it's all illusory.
Absolutely.
And that they can target and bankrupt and destroy people because they want to, and they're a part of the machine. To me, this is like the Sentinels versus the human beings.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. They are obsessed to the point where I actually bet money with my friend that I was going to put out a post about Tucker. And I was like, just give it like a few hours. Lara Loomer will show up and do something. I won. I was like, this is how predictable you got. This is how predictable you are. I want money by betting on this. Like, are you crazy?
They hate Tucker with the same viciousness. And that started when I was at the Daily Wire. So I was aware. It was very strange because I've always liked Tucker. Tucker has always been good to me. And I mean, for years, before I worked for the Daily Wire, I was doing Tucker Carlson's show weekly, like every Tuesday. I kind of had to be on there. And Tucker, I forgot, Fox News will do this thing where they put people on ice. You can get like temporarily banned for something. And there was something I said that they put me temporarily, like banned me from Fox News. Tucker Carlson, don't care. He's the #1 show. I'll have her every time. He like stood by me. And so little things like that, you get to see someone's character. I didn't know him personally. I actually met Tucker Carlson. I have the video. Charlie introduced me to him. And I was sent it to Tucker actually the other week because I was going through my videos with Charlie. And I was like, only person I want to meet in politics is Tucker Carlson. And so he filmed it. And he's like, hey, Tucker, want you to meet Candace. So that's who he is behind the scenes, where if he thinks that something is wrong or that they've done you wrong, he's willing to stand up to the big guy, right? He's standing up to Fox News and saying, I'm going to still have Candace on my show every Tuesday. I don't care if you don't like what she said about.
You know, it's funny when she talks about like who people are behind the scenes, like getting into this content game. It's been kind of crazy, you know, like I haven't interacted with all that many people yet, but it is really funny seeing how some people are like on camera and off camera. And, you know, a lot more of these people are consistent than you might think. You know, like when you see me on camera, like I'm pretty much the same person on and off camera. And so is Danks. Like Danks is, he's funny. But it's just weird seeing how people get so judgmental, both positively and negatively, of other people that they watch. Because I don't know if that's the case with everybody. You know, like I feel like some creators, at least, you know, you're gonna get people that are playing roles and playing character, you know, like their characters, you know, and I've been watching a lot of different creators that have these types of theories, especially on the bigger ones. And the only thing I have to say on this at the end of the day is, regardless of who the creator is, if you don't know them personally, like you haven't actually met them, then you don't really know who they are. And the more time you spend watching them, the more opportunities you have to analyze them and get to know them. And you can look for patterns and consistencies and inconsistencies. But, you know, I wouldn't try to spend too much time thinking about all of that, and just try to pay attention to what people say and what their stances are and the vibe that they give off. And when you have somebody that is consistently speaking up for the right things and speaking up for the right causes and trying to raise awareness and trying to call out what you know to be bullshit, you should support that person. You should support that cause. Even if you think you see something that might lead you to believe that the person might be disingenuous, you have to remember, you might be right. You might be wrong. But if that person is spreading a positive message that's resonating with the masses and is a good influence on the people, like, you have way more reasons to support that person than to nitpick and to give them hell. And I know I got Candace on. I'm not even talking about Candace. It's just, it came to my mind because what she was saying about Tucker. But, you know, I don't know. That's just something I felt an important message to relay.
About COVID or whatever it was, prevailing narrative of the day. But they have similarly been obsessed with Tucker. And I don't know why. Tucker has done nothing to
because
them.
both of you are good. I mean, look at this, Candace. You have everything that a person should strive forward, right? Like, and look for. Like, you're a wife, you're a mother, you're young, you have business,
I like her energy too. Elizabeth Lane, she seems like she gives a really positive vibe. I'm kind of getting like Bond girl vibes from her too. I don't know. Maybe it's the hair, maybe it's the accent. Chat, let me know what you think. Could you picture Elizabeth Lane starring in a Bond movie? Let me know.
happy, and you have your faith. Now, the same goes with Tucker. Tucker is a guy who never cheated on his wife, who's not going to. And I think that kills Lara Loomer. But, you know, it's just how it is. And he's got everything a normal American should dream for and strive for and all of that. And I think they are jealous. And they are jealous that you guys are loved by people, and they are not. They're not.
And I think that it's also Tucker, and why I've always been a fan of his, is when he sort of told his whole story on Theo Von about his alcoholism and like his wake up moment of realizing they hate that. They hate that. They want you to try to pretend that you are perfect and you've never made a mistake. No, you've made mistakes. Like you have, like, I'm like, guys, we can go back and we can find the files. You want the Candace files? I'll give them to you. That's what I'm doing on my podcast every day. I'm not perfect. And by the way, I'm going to make more mistakes. There is going to be, I right now have 4 children in this world. They're going to then be teenagers. They're going to make mistakes, and I'm going to do my best to protect them and guide them.
4 children? What? With a gay man?
Yeah, with a gay homosexual gangster, mind you.
Did you guys know that Candace had 4 kids? Yo, that's wild. She's in great shape for 4 kids too. Wow, that's crazy. Just saying. God bless her. God bless her family.
A lot happening. He's both a rap gangster, gun brandishing. Yeah, but he also is gay. Oxford. It's a lot going on.
He just has 4 kids though,
but
he's
it's always
gay.
the immediate attack. They go for the family because they know that that's where the strength is. Like that's where the rock is. And when your family is good, and we love being parents. We didn't know that we would love it this much. You know, you never know. And children are just such a joy. They're so funny. I mean, I could tell you every day the things that come out of their mouths as they're grappling with things. And a lot of these people don't know that joy because they're searching for something It is so empty. Like trying to get into Mar-a-Lago. Like, wow, guys, it's really kind of gaudy. The food's not that good. Right? I remember the first time I was like, yeah, this is it. And then I got there and I was like, it's like, all right.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And that's why they're so miserable. And most of their work, instead of actually working on something meaningful, is trashing others. And people started saying it. That's why like Daily Wire is losing people, because they don't want to watch this every single day. They are sick of it. So real quick, before we move on, when you first met Ben Shapiro, what was your reaction? Like, what was your analysis of the person?
I first met him with Charlie. It was another one of my favorite Charlie moments.
Okay.
Oh, that reminds me. Chat, let me know, because I did a live stream. I was working on a series for Ben Shapiro. And it's funny too, because Danks told me, he's like, dude, don't make it a series. Just break it down, put all the information in, make it like 90 minutes, even an hour if you can, and just get it out, get it over with, keep moving. But I was having so much fun with the research. Not only did I want to make a whole series about it, but when Danks invited me to interview Blake with him the other day with a video that went so freaking viral that it like literally like he's doubling his sub count over it. I shot him down. I said, no, I'm working on my Ben Shapiro serial. Yeah, yeah, what'd I just do? But I told him, I shot him down. I said, no, I'm working on my Ben Shapiro series. I got a lot of work to do. And he was like looking at me like I'm crazy. And Ryan Mata too. Shout out to Ryan Mata. I was telling him about it. He's like, dude, like that ship sailed. You should have put that out like 2 weeks ago. He's like, Shapiro's already done. Like Candace already nuked him. He's done. Like Daily Wire's, it would go out of business if it wasn't being, didn't have other reasons for existing. And I don't know. I thought that it was going to be good. Like I had a couple of things that I found, a couple of dots that I connected. The last episode that I did on it, I didn't really come prepared, and I had a lot of stuff going on, like personally too. And I kind of just like rushed through that live, especially because I knew there was like so much other content coming out that day. But like that first live that I did, like the real story, Ben Shapiro part 1, I think I did it on last Friday. I thought it was really good. I thought it was going to do really good, but I don't know, chat. Let me know if you watched it, if you liked it, if you think that I should keep continuing it as a series with lives, or if I should just get it all out in one video and just move on, because I worked way too damn hard on that research not to do it, not to put it out. But yeah, I don't know if it's resonating as much as I did. I think people are kind of over Ben Shapiro, just like they're over that other guy I was talking about earlier that I'm not going to name.
Shared it, but it was, any person when they first got into the industry around that time, you actually looked up to Ben, because this was when he was going viral with the clips, and Charlie and I were just started. So we had all these messages that I could show you. We were like, oh, it's so cool. Like Ben, I was like, I think Ben followed me and something. I don't remember what it was. And then like every person in politics, you get to know Ben, and that things change very quickly. And so it was the Kanye tweet. Anything up before April 2018, we were like, great, it'd be great to work with Ben. And then after the Kanye tweet, he's a very jealous and envious person.
All right, so I'm paying attention to the chat. So you guys are saying that you like the information, but you just don't want to hear his voice. What if I did it like documentary style, and instead of hearing him, I would just like post up different images and do voiceover? Would you want to see it then? Would that be better? Hold on. Let me end this poll real quick. And then I'll start another one. All right. So did someone raid Tulsi Gabbard's office for those files? 69% said yes. 31% said no. I find that to be really interesting. I feel like that definitely happened. But we're gonna start poll number 2. And this isn't gonna just go for the Ben Shapiro thing either. This is something that I had an idea that I was going to do. I wanted to do it for a Charlie Kirk special too, but hold on. Shit. All right, here we go. So the poll, the question is, should I also, I left out, oh no, yeah. should I start also doing voiceover style documentaries in addition to my lives? So not like an either or, but should I start doing those as well?
And rather than going, how can we work together? How do we make things bigger? You end up finding out that he's working behind the scenes and telling people not to work with you. And this is going to be a mistake. And she shouldn't be speaking to Kanye. And you don't know what Kanye means to people like me. You don't pretend to understand the culture at all. You don't understand, like, I wouldn't be in this circumstance if it wasn't for Kanye's music giving me the courage to know there are so many kids growing up in crappy communities that are hearing someone say, you can break through, you can break through, you can be, you can be your own Superman and get out of this thing. And he's just like he is nag and
controlling, very controlling.
And he messaged Charlie and told him not to deal with me. I had showed the messages on my show, and Charlie was like, he thinks like you're his slave. LOL, when I see Charlie again in heaven, I'm gonna be like, bro. We had no idea how right you were when you sent that message.
Wow.
I'm like a slave who escaped this plantation is how I feel right now. And they just got there on horseback trying to find me. You know what I mean? It's been like years. And I'm like, man, I think you just got to let this slave go. I think she's fully up north,
Absolutely
yeah,
crazy.
so it was after that Ben did a flip. And so, but then he sort of noticed that he couldn't kind of stop the rise. And so Charlie and I did Ben's show. We were in LA in Sherman Oaks, which is where Daily Wire used to be based. And I remember Charlie was just like, okay, when we get there, when we take a photo with him, I'm going to stand up real tall and puff out my chest. So he looks super extra small. And I was like, do it. I said, do it. And the photo is hilarious. That was who Charlie was. Like, he was never like, we're going to be super mean or try to ruin this guy's life. We're going to get this photo so we always remember that we triumphed him in this room. And then we went on the show. And he's just a jokester. He's totally a jokester like that.
Ben is the same way with everything. I mean, look at what he does with the nation. He tells them what needs to be done. It's like, who put you in charge exactly? Who are you, dude? Like, he's telling American.
One thing with Ben Shapiro, though, while I'm saying things that could get my video suppressed. And also, do me a favor, because I am noticing that my impressions on this live are like a third of what they were the other day. This live is not getting out the way that they normally do. Maybe I should consider using those code words again, because maybe they do work. I don't know. But yeah, do me a favor. If you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. But for those of you that didn't see that episode that I was referring to when I did the live on Ben Shapiro the other day. So while I was doing research, I found out that he went to Harvard during the same time that it was basically being run by his friend, by the friends of Jeffrey Epstein, and that Lawrence Summers, who worked in both the Clinton and Obama administration, was the executor of the executor of Epstein's will, and one of the people that kind of normalized him, with the donors and the scientists. Like, he was one of the gatekeepers that gave Epstein a lot of his access. He was the president of Harvard during the time that Ben Shapiro attended Harvard. And on top of that, Alan Dershowitz, who was a professor at Harvard for like 49 years, Ben Shapiro not only was in his class, but I believe he was in his class during the same time period that Alan Dershowitz was representing Jeffrey Epstein, where he got him that sweetheart deal in 2007. Because Shapiro attended Harvard from 2004 to 2007, I believe. And Epstein got arrested in 2005, and he got the deal in 2007. So maybe it wasn't exactly when, but it was like right around the same time period. So to me, like, it's now, listen, that is an indirect tie from Ben Shapiro to Jeffrey Epstein, but it's a strong indirect tie. And when I listen to his rhetoric, and when talking about Jeffrey Epstein and the case, and you got Ben Shapiro saying that there's like no evidence that he was affiliated with intelligence. There's no evidence that there was actually like some kind of sex trafficking ring. And how could anybody think that, like, for you to believe there was, then you would have to believe that they're going to all cover it up and da-da-da. But like, you have to remember, like, he's saying this knowing that one of his friends, his former professor, Alan Dershowitz, who in 2020, after Epstein didn't kill himself, and all the heat was coming on Dershowitz because of his connections to Epstein, Ben Shapiro did an interview with Dershowitz, like a puff piece, trying to declare him as like a hero of the right and try to make it where look like he's all about free speech, and he you know, let him tell his side and make him look good. So it's like, I don't know, like, I don't think many of us really trusted Ben Shapiro anyway, but this is definitely an additional reason not to. The conflicts of interest for Ben Shapiro in regards to the Jeffrey Epstein case are way bigger than anybody ever realized. I don't think most people even realize that they existed, but they do. He has very strong indirect ties, and I think that that is something else that should have been brought up before he got taken down by Candace. And I think had Candace known this, or other people known this and reported it sooner, he probably would have, like, that ship would have sunk a lot quicker. But chat, you guys let me know. Let me know. Did you know about Ben Shapiro's ties to Jeffrey Epstein? And do you think if everybody knew that the Daily Wire would have sunk a lot faster than it did? Please let me know in the chat.
People, well, you are wrong to want good for America, because Israel comes first. He never said exactly these words, but that's where he's going. Like, we support Israel. We should support Israel. Who are you to decide who American people should support? Like, who are you?
It's really operative. And I think that, and you can fact check this, but I was told when I was at the Daily Wire that his uncle is the one that sold all the uranium to Israel, stole all of our uranium. Zalman Shapiro, he ended up not being charged for it because I think he like pled anti-Semitism in court or something, but he did sell all of our uranium. So this is who and what his family is, and this is what he was raised to believe, that he's chosen. And so I think
I didn't even know that Ben Shapiro had an uncle that was involved with the sale of uranium. Yo, is that really what you just said? Hold on, I gotta rewind this. Because I did not know that. Like I said, this part of the interview I did not watch yet. I'm watching it for the first time. Oh no. Why is this happening now? They're on to me, chat. I hope they don't pull the plug on my live again. Yo, they did that my second live ever. Hold on, let me pull this down for a second. I'll refresh it. My second live ever.
To want good for America.
They shut down on me, and I was so pissed. I was so disappointed.
Because Israel comes first. He never said exactly these words, but that's where he's going. Like, we support Israel. We should support Israel. Who are you to decide who American people should support? Like, who are you?
It's really operative. And I think that, and you can fact check this, but I was told when I was at the Daily Wire that his uncle is the one that sold all the uranium to Israel, stole all of our uranium. Zalman Shapiro, he ended up not being charged for it because I think he like pled anti-Semitism in court or something, but he did sell all of our uranium. So this is who and what his family is, and this is what he was raised to believe, that he's chosen. And so I think when you are raised...
Yo, chat, that's a true story. So when I first started doing lives, the second live I ever did, I was covering the Tucker Carlson, Mike Huckabee interview, and they pulled the plug on my live. They said that it was a copyright issue, but then like when you go live, when you finish the live, it automatically gets uploaded as a video. And so they cut my live, and then it got uploaded, and it passed the like little internal test that it does for copyright. So they basically pulled my live and then bullshitted me on the reason. And then I went live again, and it was like a couple days later, and my chat got hacked, and people weren't allowed to comment. I didn't know what was going on. Mad World, shout out to Mad World, ended up calling me while I was streaming, because it's like I saw that I had viewers, but there was no chat, and I was just so confused. And then they just started putting in numbers. I started like saying, "Oh, type this, type that," and they were able to type the chat in a different language, just not English. It was like the weirdest thing in the world, but it ended up being a really, really fun live. And I totally went off that day and said a whole lot of crap that they probably wouldn't have wanted me to say. But I just wanted to give the context on that one because I saw the comment on it.
With that philosophy of thinking that everything is yours, that you should be allowed to steal and rape and kill and take people's property because you're promised something. Chosen by whom? Satan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Obviously, if you can do this to children and you genuinely believe that you have a separate, as the Talmud instructs, that you have a separate spirit. They're animals, you're not. By the way, I wouldn't treat an animal as they treat the Palestinians, just to be clear.
Right.
And actually, when you watch their behavior, the deep irony is they can't think through, no, you have the spirit of animals. Look at you. Look at what you're doing. And not even an animal would do the things that you are doing right now in Palestine. They have some sort of reverence that is ingrained in them as creatures that were created by God. And so they can't work through, the people that support Israel can't work through the fact that you possess the spirit of animals, because look at what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, facts are facts. And Ben Shapiro might say like, well, I'm not doing it. You know, I'm sitting in a studio and whatever. But you're supporting the people who are doing when you have the power to stop them. And that's almost worse.
He hosted Bibi Netanyahu on his show and will,
criminal,
without blinking, an actual criminal, without blinking, will say that Tucker Carlson's a monster.
Yeah.
Who has Tucker Carlson ever hurt? He will say Nick Fuentes is the worst thing that ever happened. How many people has Nick Fuentes killed?
Nobody.
Okay, so I think Bibi Netanyahu is worse than Nick Fuentes. Does that like generally make sense to the population?
Absolutely.
That the bigger threat would be the person that's now bombing Lebanon and stealing. They constantly steal and then tell us that they're more successful because they're better at business. You're thieves. We're thieves and murderers trying to convince us that it's righteous murder and righteous theft.
Right. And doing it poorly.
So that's what you will inherit. If you and to be clear,
I don't know why I thought that this was going to be more about the Charlie Kirk case, but they're getting real. They're really like going into it right now. They're going into the trenches.
There are a ton of Jews who do not support this, and the numbers are now astounding of people that email me, rabbis that email me, Jewish Americans that watch this show. I think early on they were like, "Oh no, this is about not wanting the Holocaust to happen." They now see what's happening, and they want nothing to do.
I just want to reply to this. Isn't Harvard CIA Central? It's a weak tie, but I find what's RAS to look further into, even if our corrupted justice system won't. Actually, no, you are 100% right. Ever since the 60s, ironically, the same decade that Alan Dershowitz started teaching there. But yes, since the 60s, Harvard has been a major breeding ground for CIA recruitment, which, again, I only found this out when I started doing the research into Shapiro, because, you know, I'll start looking at different things. Where did he go to school? Okay, now I'm going to do research into the schools. He also went to UCLA, where that's a whole other story with his connections with David Horowitz. And it's crazy, too, because Shapiro, he has... I don't want to get too much into it. I'll save it for the documentary. But when you look at his trajectory and you look at his education and then his rise in business after he graduated Harvard, there is definitely a trail. I'll just say there's definitely a trail. There is some sort of drama everywhere this guy goes, and he's always a couple of degrees of separation away from a major conspiracy.
With that.
And Israel does not represent all Jews. I worked with a Jew, like my boss was a Jew. And Candace, I can explain, well, actually, I can't explain what was going on in his head. He never once told me to shut up. Like when I started talking about Israel and Palestine and all this, I know that every single time we had a meeting, he was so uncomfortable because he's Israeli Jew. And he's like, he wants me to talk, but at the same time, he's got all this like family and distant family and all this, and I just felt sorry for him. I told him, like, I just feel so sorry for you.
Right.
I know you're, on the right side, and we avoided this conversation, but his support was not like, oh, Elizabeth, go talk about it. His support was, I'm gonna shut up.
Right. And I
That
think
was his
it's
support.
really
Yeah.
also shown a light on Christian Zionists.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
we're talking about Zionists, let's be
Yeah.
clear, the majority of them are Christian in America. And I'm sickened by them. I am sickened by the idea that I ever supported or platformed Ali Stuckey, right? As she is lecturing people perpetually and turning a blind eye to what is happening in Israel because she is convinced of some promise that, like, I don't know, she's going to be top goyim or something like that, top goy. And you sit here and you lecture people about abortion being wrong, murdering children being, but you go, but if it happens here, it's fine. Okay, now we're in Lebanon.
Yeah, and now it's okay to murder a 40-year-old. It's fine, like, because now it's for a cause, whatever that cause might be, right? It's just so ridiculous. But okay, real quick, this is a deep question, but you can take it wherever you want. I always thought that Netanyahu was its own puppet in a way. And the real control was always here in the United States with the Zionists, like Christian Zionists and some Jewish Zionists, who knows? And because take Adelson or take Larry Fink or take all these people who are supporting this cause from afar.
Wow, really
they're all here in the United States. None of them choose to go and live in Israel.
Yo, chat, did any of you guys watch this thing already? I told you, I really didn't watch it. I only started watching it this morning. Everything that I'm watching now, I'm not gonna lie. Had I watched this, I don't know if I'd be playing this right now because I started off pretty controversial. I started off pretty controversial with the whole JFK MKUltra topic, and then I go right into Candace and Elizabeth Lane. All right, well, we just hit 1,000 views, which is crazy because I've already been streaming for almost 2 hours. So I thought that I would have been at like 4,000 by now. But damn, you guys watched it. You didn't even warn me. You didn't warn me what I was getting into. No, I'm kidding. I'm playing. But yo, what happens next? I think I'm gonna skip. I think I'm gonna skip a little bit. I'm like curious. I want to watch this whole thing, but they might be going a little too hard in the paint for my algorithm. I think I've already said enough controversial things for one day for this transcript. Never get
would have reacted, and so all they had was money. That's what psychopaths understand. Money equals power, right? So they were like, well, we have money, so we'll just spend money on influencers telling people, as Ali Stuckey did yesterday, that this is a spiritual sickness. Your soul is in peril. If you have any questions about Erika, okay, thanks, Ali. We'll just keep pretending these lies were normal, and like we'll go. That's fine. Spend money on Graham Allen every day, saying anybody who questions Erika, like, we can see what's happening here. You're not going to MKUltra us into believing that her actions are normal because we're human.
Yeah, and isn't it weird how everyone is okay to criticize everyone else? I don't know if you remember this when Trump was running. I mean, things that were said about Melania or, people were mean as hell. Nothing like that was said about Erika.
No.
And somehow we are, again, gaslighted into this that you can't touch her. You can't touch her. No. I don't want to touch.
All right, you know what? I told you guys that I wasn't going to say it before because I didn't want to speak prematurely. So again, I am not 100%. And I've never spoken to this person. This is somebody that Dank speaks with pretty frequently, and he was the one that told me. But I will spoil the surprise. So apparently, our guest for tomorrow night's stream for me and Danks' show is going to be Elizabeth Lane. Again, it's not guaranteed. He told me that he's pretty sure it's going to happen. So since we're getting suppressed anyway, and we don't have that many viewers, I figure I might treat this like a members only chat and spill the tea. But yes, I believe Elizabeth Lane is going to be joining me and Danks tomorrow. And after watching this interview, I am even more excited about that than I already was. I think that I might have a lot to talk about with her. Guys, do me a favor. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to see me have an interview with Elizabeth Lane. And thanks too, of course. But thanks gets all the interviews now.
At all if she just stayed away. But here's the thing, when you come out as a public figure and you do all this, you are going to be a subject of talk, whether you like it or not. I'm sorry,
you don't get to skip it.
Exactly,
you don't get to skip it. My life has felt like one long public autopsy, right? And that's because Charlie and I went through that. They started going through his life, looking into scandals, all of this stuff. I remember it's like, okay, well, this is what it means to be a public figure. And they're basically going, well, she gets to just graduate and no one can look into her and she's untouchable. And by the way, she's going to have more power than ever because this organization is taking in, it took in $250 million in like the last quarter or something.
Exactly.
I think more actually. And they're going, you can't say anything because we're just going to keep throwing down the widow card. No, she's not the widow. She is the chairman and the CEO of a company where a public assassination took place
by choice. By the way, no, not
by
public,
choice.
but by choice. She's a CEO by choice.
By choice.
Yeah.
And beyond that, they're saying it's out of, as she came out, as it was out of public duty, or private duty, I guess, to her husband, because apparently we're supposed to believe that Charlie had the exact opposite ideas in private than what he expressed publicly. That's BS. Okay. And he just 2 weeks before he died, something overcame him. And he said, hey, if anything ever happens to me, if I ever get shot in the neck, I want Erika to become the CEO and chairman. And
that is like one of the worst lies that's been told throughout this entire investigation and this whole case with Charlie Kirk. This idea that, Charlie Kirk, Mr. Mr. Christian, the traditional, the person who believes that the man should be the one to work and provide and that the woman should take care of the kids, said, allegedly, that if anything happened to him in this dangerous job, because remember too, Erika Kirk, she said it in that interview with Glenn Beck, that they always knew there was a danger, that they would get threats all the time. They would get threats on their lives. They would have kidnapping threats on their children. But despite all that, Charlie, the person who believed that the man should provide and that the woman should be home with the kids, he always said that if anything happened to him, that he would want Erika to take over Turning Point USA. Because, a nonprofit organization that, basically gets into politics for the Republicans, that cause, that mission is more important than his children being raised by their mother when their father is dead. I don't know. I'm having a lot of trouble believing that. Actually, I think that it would be the opposite. I think that Charlie would have said, hey, if anything happens to me, don't worry. I've got this nest egg. You've got all the money in the world. Make sure you move somewhere safe and live happily ever after. And just do your best to make sure that the kids don't grow up with issues over it. You know what I mean? Like that's what I would do if I were in Charlie's shoes. I wouldn't, if I had a dangerous job where I had to have like priests come and pray for my safety and, guards everywhere and death threats and people, potentially after my children. I wouldn't want my wife to do that when I'm not even around anymore and leave the kids. How old are the kids anyway? Like the daughter's got to be like 4, 5 years old tops. The son is like what, 2? You're going to tell me that's what Charlie wanted? Erika to be, dressing up and just going around on tour, going to the correspondence dinner that he never attended, that he thought was bullshit. But no, Erika, just a week or two after, she couldn't even go to, that university and meet with Andrew Colvett and J.D. Vance because of security concerns. J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States with Secret Service armed guards to protect him and to protect her. But it was too dangerous for her. But then a week or two later, she goes to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And then, of course, something happens there. And she's all crying on camera. And everybody's, poor Erika. The PTSD is kicking in. It was such a traumatic experience for her. But she's going to keep doing it. She's going to keep putting herself in danger because that's what Charlie wanted for her. And that's what's best for her kids. I don't know, guys. I don't think I buy it.
They have an opportunity to present that video and they just don't want to present it. They grifted off of every possible thing you can grift off of, including the tent he died under, which was available for photo ops at AmFest. But the actual footage of him saying that, which would have been so powerful, so emotionally motivating, it would have made people get behind her, even if they didn't think she was qualified for the job, right? It'd be like, oh gosh, that's like the last video of Charlie saying this. Okay, if that's your last wish, I'll do it. No, they can't release that video.
Yeah, that tent was so weird. If someone did that to a friend of mine, I'll bury everyone. Like, are you out of your mind? What are you doing?
Approved
That's
by
a
Elizabeth
normal person's
McCoy.
reaction. Yeah.
Her idea went in the room. They thought it was a good idea. They all approved it. Again, the roost has to be being ruled by psychopaths.
Right.
Anybody else would just be like,
yeah.
No, obviously we shouldn't do that. That's very strange. Weird. It's weird. It's haunting. It feels like a seance of some description. We're not doing that. And they're just like,
funny, but
it's
so
beyond
funny.
that. There's no human. I'm like, is there a human in sight at Turning Point USA?
Yeah.
Just a human. Just bring in a human. And just what is your job? I am human. You know, like what is your official title? Human. And just shut down every idea Blake Neff has.
Human reactions. In charge
of HR, human reactions.
Yes.
Like.
And, you know, for those of you, I know a lot of you saw it. For those of you that didn't, I actually did an interview with a woman named Lala Andrews, who used to work for Blexit. You know, like she worked under Charlie. I don't know if she knew Candace personally or not, but like she knows a lot of these individuals. She knows Tyler Boyer and Brian Harpole. And you know, she gave me a lot of fascinating insight. And she explained how, like, you know, Turning Point USA Action, Blexit, that they're all, even though they're under the Turning Point USA umbrella, that they're all their own different entities. And they have their different staffs and different groups. And that, you know, not all of them shared the same views. Not all of them had the same opinions. And, you know, since Charlie left the board and Erika's taken over, a lot of the people have left. And, you know, most of them have had to sign NDAs, especially the people that were there that day and in the building the weeks after, you know, Charlie left us. And this idea that like everybody's in on it, everybody, you know, like that's not the case at all. In fact, there are a lot of people that have different opinions on the different individuals that are higher up in the company. The one thing that, from what I understand, at least at that point, is pretty common and consistent is the dislike and the lack of trust for Erika Kirk. I hear that not a lot of people liked her. Not a lot of people liked her at all. I heard the opposite, that Tyler Boyer was pretty popular. I heard good things about Brian Harpole, which I was very surprised about. Don't tell Blake Bednarz. He'll probably have a freaking coronary. But there are a lot of people that think that Brian Harpole genuinely cared about Charlie Kirk, and they don't think that he could have been involved. They also, you know, something else that I had learned, which I was pretty fascinated by, was this idea, you know, because I was under the impression that Brian Harpole was head of security, that he was like top of the totem pole. And I found out that that not necessarily the case, that Brian Harpole actually answered to Dan Flood. Now, I just want to point out, if you don't know who Dan Flood is by now, which I'm sure by now most of you do, but he's the one that made that gesture right before the alleged shot went off. I also want to point out, to my understanding, Brian Harpole is not with the company anymore. He's not with Turning Point USA anymore. If I'm wrong and it turns out he is, please chat, correct me, and I'll, you know, adjust and correct the statement. I'm not trying to ever put out misinformation. But to my understanding, Brian Harpole is not with them anymore, and Dan Flood got a raise. So take it for what it's worth. I don't really know for sure, but I find
would also
this all
add,
to be
even if we're
interesting. I want to move over now, though, since we're talking about Turning Point USA, and I want to play a different clip from Candace. Again, I haven't watched this one yet. I watched this part, but I haven't seen, it's going to play into a part I haven't seen yet.
not looking to pick a fight of that nature, if you feel strongly about it, I would encourage you to send them an email. You could say, I have concerns. I might cease support, or I might support you more if you were to make a different decision.
Yeah, guys, you think we got to go back to code words? Chat, do me a favor. Actually, before I play this, let's see. We got this other poll. Let's finish this first. All right. So I asked, should I start also doing voiceover style documentaries in addition to my lives? We had 77 votes, and the verdict is in. 86% of you said yes. 14% said no. All right. So that settles it. As far as the whole Ben Shapiro series, it will not be a series. I will make it a documentary style video with voiceover so that you might have to hear him a little bit, but you won't have to hear him a lot. I think we could find some common ground in there. Of course, I want to make you guys happy and make sure that the content is, well, if not enjoyable, at least palatable for those parts, I mean. All right, so do not comply with speech restrictions. Yeah, that's my point. That's my point. I don't want to have to conform. I don't want to have to submit. I want to break the algorithm. I want to break the algorithm. Or, maybe what I could do. Because the members only lives are a little bit different. I noticed that when I do a members only, that like everybody gets the notification. Everybody seems to not have any trouble seeing those. So maybe I'll start using some code words, or at least minimize the controversial topics that I speak about in the public lives. And I'll save the more controversial topics for more of the members only lives. Chat, what do you guys think about that idea? But the only way that's going to work is if we grow these memberships. So again, if you guys want to support the channel, especially if that's what I end up doing, then you're going to kind of have to become a member in order to get like the real takes. Like it won't just be about spilling the tea and, the behind the scenes drama with guys like Blake Bednarz and, some of these other jerk offs. But maybe that's where we'll get into like the more hot issues, the stuff that YouTube doesn't want me talking about, apparently.
Decision of this nature.
maybe
People do
they
listen.
would be blessed if they made that
And
decision.
I know.
You can't make it up. You cannot make up how perfectly the 180-degree turn is from everything Charlie. It's like they never listened to Charlie Kirk speak once on his own show. That's why they had to remove all the content. Because they're like, we're just going to go so 180 that it's better to pretend. It's just better to just pretend that Charlie was never here. That's got to be the reason behind pulling all this content. What are the free markets? That is not the free market. That is literally a leftist strategy, okay, where you get a bunch of people, a mob, to call and to complain, people that actually are not partaking in that market. They don't care about it. They don't care about this business at all, but they're going to call and they're going to stress them out and try to peer pressure them into pulling out. Secondly, I want to say this. We do not put handcuffs on our sponsors. Okay, we do not put handcuffs on our sponsors. In fact, we were very intentional when we restarted the show after everything I went through the Daily Wire to have personal conversations and to make it very clear that we don't want those kinds of advertisers that are going to balk when it comes to a fight. The free markets have already made it very clear to you, Turning Point USA, your Charlie Kirk show, that they don't like you. And what you are doing right there is exactly why. Charlie Kirk's audience never had to hear that kind of filth, never had to hear something that was counter to the free markets, never had to hear somebody say, I was going to call and I was going to kick up a fuss, and I was going to try to like artificially get her kicked out of the markets, and not let, people decide what they want to watch and views based on those things. I was going to call her evil and demonic, but they say babies. So that is the only reason I'm going to go with this, is because they say babies, because there's something bigger here, and I'm a good Christian, right? That's the whole reason but like if it was anybody else, by the way, if you want to call and do that, you should do that. This again could not sit more opposite to what Charlie Kirk believed in. He could believe that he could compete and be better than you, then his show would get more views than your show, and advertisers would want to come to him naturally. He didn't believe.
And it really does. It blows my mind how Turning Point USA has done such a 180 on so many different topics, or have avoided topics that Charlie Kirk was speaking on and speaking out against, and would have been speaking on today if he wasn't here. Like the war, the files. I mean, even the fact that Erika brought Nicki Minaj on the stage. What was that, Amfest? Like there's been so many contradictions, so many 180s, so many like cringeworthy moments. And again, like this isn't saying, or like it doesn't mean that they offed him or that they're a part of any kind of conspiracy, but they're just more factors into the equation and just more reasons to reinforce this lack of trust between the American people and the government. And I don't know what Turning Point was when Charlie created it. I don't know what it was supposed to be. I don't know what it was last year. But right now in 2026, Turning Point USA is clearly some sort of military type operation for right-wing propaganda. There are a lot of people that also think that it's a psyop, and maybe it is. Maybe it is. But at the very least, it is straight propaganda. And again, it's just one more reason for the people to not trust this administration, to lose their faith and their trust in President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. It's, it's part of the reason why some people, even myself at times, question whether or not Charlie is even dead. And it's just because Erika Kirk's character has been so bad, so horrific. Like, she's such a bad actress. She just seems like such a terrible person that it's hard to believe that Charlie Kirk ever would have been foolish enough to marry her. And I'm not trying to say that to be to offend anybody. I'm not trying to like create a hot take, but it's an honest opinion, that I will go as far to say that I share. It's like, I do not see how somebody as intelligent and influential as Charlie Kirk, that he would have ever married a woman like Erika, like from what we've seen, and there could be more to that, though. There could be more to that. Like, what if, and this is just me being objective, but like, what if there was foreign involvement in Charlie's death? Like, just think about it for a second. Like, what if Charlie got assassinated? There was some sort of foreign involvement, whether it was this nation, that nation. I'm not trying to imply anything. But like, what if Erika Kirk has some type of intelligence, like information, and she's being told, hey, you're in danger. Your kids are in danger. You need to play ball. Like, what if Turning Point wasn't involved? Like, what if everything was a coincidence? The hand signals, the this, the that. And like, they're genuinely trying to save her. You think it's possible? I mean, I think that at the very least, that if you've invested this much time and energy into this case, especially if you did it because you cared about Charlie, then maybe you owe it to him to at least entertain the possibility. But I'll tell you this much. I've thought about that and thought about similar scenarios, and I don't buy it. I don't. I don't. I don't buy it. I don't think that Erika Kirk is in any danger whatsoever. Not even a little bit. But again, that's just my opinion.
He had to just be an evil human being behind the scenes, list people's advertisers, start speaking about their advertisers, and pretend that you're not putting pressure or glazing people that are listing all of their advertisers at the same time. Well, that entire scene, pretending to be a good person while you're doing everything that Charlie would hate. You are so ill representative of Charlie Kirk. Please give the name a new show. Just call it the Andrew and Blake saga, you know? Andrew and Blake complain about everything. Andrew and Blake maybe kind of hate Charlie Kirk and everything he believed in, but they played a part for as long as they could. And now they're here to tell you what they think. And yeah, nothing lines up with the principles of what began Turning Point USA. So that would be my advice to them. And I think, by the way, then you could get more viewers because then people would go, oh, okay, now we see what this is. You no longer are wearing this mask of pretend.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That's a good point too. I'm like trying to pay attention to the chat while I watch this. That's actually one of the reasons why I like, watching stuff with you guys, because if I'm playing something, I'm obviously paying attention to what we're watching. So, I could speak on it, but it gives me the opportunity to be able to focus on the chat, because like whenever I go on these rants where I'm just like, bah, 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 like I'm not looking at the chat. Like I'm trying to like look at you guys, look at the camera, face front. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say and I'm saying it. But when I watch the stuff, I'm able to like keep up with the chat. But I'm seeing comments that she likes money, she likes attention, and I agree. I think that this woman it went from the pageants to she was in a music video. Then she tried to be on The Amazing Race. She's dating athletes. She made a cameo on another reality show. Like, this woman wanted the attention. She wanted the camera on her. She wanted riches. She wanted fame. Some people get upset when I say this, but you have to take her age into account as well. Because when she got with Charlie was in his mid-20s. She's like 5 or 6 years older than him. She was already in her 30s. She was already like 30, 31, 32, whatever it was. So, like, that plays a factor too. She wasn't like this young, ripe pageant queen anymore. You know what I mean? Like, she was getting a little older. Like, it was time for her to settle down. And she wanted to settle down with somebody with status. Now, I hate to like make these types of assumptions and profile people like that. But when you look at her record and, you like, sometimes it's just obvious. You know what I mean? Like, and then she sat there and doing that CBS interview, which was totally staged. All the questions she got in advance. I don't think that there was any genuine civilians asking those questions. I think that every single one of them was an actor, including Hunter Kozak, but that's a whole other story. I'm not even going to get into that today. But like, they're sitting there asking her these questions, and she's telling people, like, if you want to find a man like Charlie, then you got to be the type of woman that a Charlie would want to be with, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yo. Actually, you know what? Screw it. I've played this a couple of times. Oh, hold on. I actually got to take this guy. Sorry. I'm going to play this clip real quick while I'm going.
That you are carrying on the torch for Charlie. I mean, just how embarrassing. Because I should have known they were behind it. It was just like, what is going on over this weekend? And thank you, Turning Point USA, Andrew Colbert, Blake, for, like I said, leading to the biggest day of merch sales on our website ever. Because our fans, I will tell you right now, people who watch this show, our listeners, they will fight harder. Okay. You guys have power. You've got the military. You've got CBS, Barry Weiss, the president's office, the White House, the military office, all behind you. And we're still winning because we have a better product. It's truth. Good luck with your lies. And speaking of lies and people who tell them, sometimes.
Sorry about that.
Accidentally, because they're just stupid. Paramount Not So Tactical doesn't understand what an alibi is.
Yo, I love that. She said Paramount Not So Tactical. That's like when I say our not so greatest ally. Oh, man. Yo, I still don't know why that guy blocked me. I never interacted with him. I didn't even really have a follower. Like, that guy had me blocked before I was even getting 100 people watching my lives. Like, I don't even have a big following on X either. I don't know, man. I think somebody told him I was coming.
Okay, so we showed you the clip, the now famed clip of Erika and Andrew Colvett orchestrating this Fort Huachuca non-alibi behind the scenes, and Paramount Tactical, who is not a very quick reader, did not realize that he was not supposed to read out the alibi or show the picture, and he accidentally did. Okay, so now that he's accidentally rumbled the fact that the internet was correct, that these didn't look like Erika's children. First, he said, it's not her son. Like I said, there have been people who say that it's also not her daughter, but who am I to make that claim? But people with direct knowledge and who know the daughter say that it is not her. Anyway, Paramount Tactical now is raging about that. And he says, actually, it doesn't even matter if neither of them are her children. It's not relevant at all. Do you know what an alibi is? If you're saying her alibi is she was with her children, it would kind of be relevant, Gary Melton, if these are in fact her children. Okay, so this is what he tweeted. This is peak hilarity. He tweeted, the fact is, we don't know. It hasn't been clarified by Erika, but it doesn't matter. The content of the picture was irrelevant. It was proof that she wasn't at Fort Huachuca on the 9th. No, Gary, let's just take apart that sentence. I really hope you're not watching Baron Coleman's show, because that's a high IQ outfit, and he would really be upset with this, and he would bring out the logic book, and this would be a mess, okay? So if it is proof that she was not at Fort Huachuca on the 9th, and if the proof that you presented was that she was with her kids, then indeed, Gary Melton, the content of the picture is relevant, especially if it's not her kids. That's how alibis work. He goes, why do you care whose kid it is? It's none of your business.
Now, I'm going to pause this here because this part, all right, so I'll be honest. For the sake of transparency, and because we've already went into a bunch of red no-fly zones today anyway, and this live is not going to get pushed out, so I might as well just start spilling the tea. A few months back, when I started entertaining the idea that Charlie Kirk's assassination was staged, I started looking into pictures of the kids and pictures of Erika and trying to find pictures of Erika when she was pregnant. Because you have to think that, in this day and age with iPhones and the technology that we have and social media, that somebody as famous as Charlie Kirk, that he would have maybe not paparazzi around him all the time, but you would certainly imagine that if he has 2 kids, that you would see a lot of images circulating of the kids and of Erika when she was pregnant, even if she wasn't famous at the time, if they were out in public, if they were at some type of event. Like, these pictures, these types of things get out. They get out. And a lot of times they get out when people don't want them to get out. So I did my due diligence and I started, looking, and I couldn't really find much. I was actually genuinely surprised, not just by how little documentation I was able to find, but I was also surprised that a lot of the pictures of the family that were posted and have been posted were posted on Erika's social media after Charlie died. That most of these photos and videos, that they weren't out there circulating before, that they came out after September. Now, again, I'm not trying to lead anything and one way or the other. And for the sake of being objective, just like I said that there were people I was in touch with that had ties to Turning Point USA that said they did not like Erika, they did not trust Erika, but they liked other individuals that, probably aren't on the list of people that Candace Owens is going to send Christmas cards to next year. I will say this. I have spoken to at least one person that claims to have seen Charlie and Erika together with the kids. And They gave the names of the kids. I mean, I think we all know that the daughter's name is Gigi. You know, like that's been said. From what I understand, the son's name is Max. And this person said that Gigi, the daughter, looked just like Charlie, and Max, the son, was a spitting image of Erika. So take that for what it's worth. You know, I'm just trying to be objective and share the information that I have with you guys. But either way, it's all pretty weird.
This, like, Gary, you introduced this to the public as an alibi for Erika and proof that she wasn't at Fort Huachuca and was in fact with her kids. Now you're saying it doesn't even matter if it's her kids, and it's the content of the picture is not relevant, and somehow it's still proof. How could it be proof if Erika's not even in the picture? It was stupid off the bat because Erika's not in the picture. So all it would be proof of is her kids. Now you're saying it's not her kids, Gary. Now you're telling us it's not her kids. The content of the picture is not relevant, and somehow we should still accept it as.
Oh, someone says it was MacArthur is the son's name, Mac for short. Yeah, I could have misheard that. I thought I heard Max, but that would make sense.
Proof that she wasn't at Fort Huachuca. I am very terrified. I'm terrified to understand that Paramount Not So Tactical served as a Green Beret. I'm terrified that China represents a threat, not because of their data centers that are expanding, but because they might have smarter people than Gary Melton. Like this is a military operative. Turning Point is turning to him for public relations, and he doesn't even understand the functionality of an alibi. He doesn't understand why people are obviously concerned about the fact that his alibi has now been completely debunked. Now he just says it doesn't matter whose kid it is. Still counts.
I think that one of the stranger parts about all this is the fact that this guy Gary would say, the fact is we don't know. It hasn't been clarified by Erika, but it doesn't matter. You know, like, isn't that a weird take? Like, of all the like really horrible takes that Gary has had, and I don't watch this guy, so I've only seen bits and pieces on X before I got blocked, and, you know, clips that other people have shared with me. But, like, I've heard this guy say some pretty bad takes. And for him to, you know, like, he'll sit there and swear that all the evidence is pointing towards Tyler Robinson, which we know is like a complete house of cards and bullshit. But he has no problem doing that. But then he doesn't want to, like, make a firm statement about those being Erika's kids. Like, I don't know. Like, that is weird. That's weird. And again, I'm giving you guys information. I'm trying to do it as objectively as possible. I'm not trying to, like, peddle any narratives or conspiracies or anything. Like, I'm being transparent about how I'm processing the information, and I'm just trying to give you guys the facts. And I give you some of my opinions, but I try to do it in an objective way. And I try to still at least analyze or be open to the other side of the argument. But this is just weird.
Erika is good. And then he rants about why he's never going to present an alibi ever again. Right? Because this is why anyone who presents alibis or information is an idiot. It's also why no one should ever trust Candace Owens. It's never enough, never accepted, or she twists what's provided into another conspiracy. No, I was not handed this alibi, actually. You submitted it, and then it got debunked by you. It's all very confusing, and now you're angry, but not at you. You're angry at me. This is, with him, it really is an IQ thing. He is just very fun to watch. You know, there's just no brain there. They just have to use more intellectual people. Maybe AI. Maybe you should just create an AI Paramount. Not so.
Yo, I can't knock. I'm not gonna lie though. I can't knock Gary from Paramount Not So Tactical, because listen, he's getting a lot more people than me on his live streams, even though from what I understand, his live streams kind of consist off of just watching Candace's live streams and talking crap about her. But, you know, when I scroll around, I see that he usually gets like 500-600 people watching him. And look at me. I didn't even crack 200 today. I mean, then again, I also only have like what? 6,000-7,000 subscribers, and he has 250,000. I think he has over 250,000 subscribers. So he's getting about triple the amount of people watching him on his lives, you know, compared to me, but he has over 30 times the following. I don't know. I think I'm going to scale up a little better than that, but time will tell.
Tactical. I think the AI could do better than that. In Kevin Leary's defense, that might be why they're doing it. They're realizing that's problematic. Anyway, even Tracy Martin, Erika's dear, long 15-year friend, jumped into the foray at some point and clarified that the son is not Erika's, so it's all very confusing. Says it's called a play date with friends. She's not saying that that's Gigi, but is also confirming that it's not the son. So the internet was right. It was first a conspiracy, and now it's true. Just takes a couple of months for that to happen usually. I do want to briefly discuss, before we get off air today, Trump's golden Trump statue, right? The backlash to...
Oh my God. Yo, this was real? I saw this on X. I didn't even think it was real. Trump really? No, really? Trump got a golden statue of himself at Mar-a-Lago? Yo, chat, did you guys know about this? Yo, did you guys know about this? I thought it was fake. I'm like kind of having a moment right now. He really did this? Oh my God. Yo. Like, how vain can you be? I don't care how rich, how powerful, how successful I would ever get. I wouldn't want to make my own statue. It's like kind of disingenuous. Like, if somebody's going to get a statue, don't you think it should be given to them and made for them by other people, not themselves? Like, this is like the type of thing you would expect from like Kim Jong-un. You know what I mean? Or Kim Jong-il. Yeah, I don't know about the younger one. Definitely the older one. You know, what was it, his uncle? Like, this isn't like an American president should not be making their own statue. You know, same thing, you know, with these freaking libraries, you know, like you see these presidents, they serve a term or two, and then all of a sudden they're going around doing all these speaking events and lobbying for different organizations, trying to raise money so that they can have libraries built for them. Like, how many libraries do they need in DC that like every president needs to have their own library? Like, one of them can't just get like a movie theater, you know, like if they have to have some type of, you know, building or something in honor of their memory, like, can't they get original? You know, like, can any of them get original? Maybe something that we need, like some type of infrastructure. Like how about like if there's a city that they're from that has like horrible traffic, or like the bridge. Like, I live in New York, and like all the bridges, it's like you see the Williamsburg, you see this one, the Verrazano. It's like, oh my God, which one's gonna fall first? It's like, you know, like, why not aim for some infrastructure, like something that's gonna like help the civilians? But no, everything has to be self-serving. It's all about them. It's not like actually serving any purpose, you know? And like I said, a movie theater is not a piece of infrastructure, but like, it's something. It's entertainment. Like, that counts too, right? It doesn't cost millions and millions of dollars to make. It could still be iconic in its own right. Like, there are so many different things that these people could do. But they're all just selfish. They're all greedy. They're all about themselves. They don't care about us. And I don't know. I don't think Trump has done anything that would justify anybody making a statue for him. So maybe that's the reason why he felt the need to make it for himself. But yeah, I can only imagine what Candace has to say on that one.
Penalty appeals.
Let me
That
see. All right. Before we close out, because we've been here for about 2.5 hours already, I want to see if I have a couple more supers that I could read, and then I have one more clip that I do want to play. So where were we at? That I think the last one I read was, it was Peach said days would be better to grow the channel. AWC about the poll. They didn't have to raid her office because she just let them in, most likely. And that's why I also said that we, even if it did get raided, how do we know it was CIA? This is what's being said by a whistleblower. What if the whistleblower didn't have the facts right? Or what if the whistleblower wanted to give some type of information, but didn't want to be too spot on because they were worried about their safety? So they said, hey, maybe I could phrase it like this so they don't know I'm on to them. Maybe I'm just spitballing here. But the idea that the CIA is going to raid the office of somebody that they're supposed to be answering to, it just seems a little bit off. Awakening, thank you for the gifted memberships. Like I said, I wanted to start doing 2 members only lives a week. I already did one the other day. I kind of want to make time to do one today if possible. So I will let you guys know in the Discord. I also saw a comment before from somebody that said that was asking if I take tips. And I'll be honest, genuinely, I like to do my own research, as most content creators do. If you do have research or tips that you want to share, the best advice I could give you is to go into the conspiracy column in my Discord and post it there. And if it's good, there are people that are going to check that stuff out and they will let me know. It's going to be a process. I don't have the time in the day to just read everything from everybody, even sources, people that I know and trust. But if you put something in my Discord, there are going to be a couple people that are going to check it out, and it will get back to me if it's something that my team is going to think that I should look into. Mad World gifting a membership. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Wes, CWW, $6. Thank you. I got a discount. I am giving it back. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Listen, it goes around. It does go around. And I'll be honest, normally I don't even try to push the supers too much. They're a great way. Obviously, being a new content creator, every dollar counts, especially when I'm still small and growing, because there's not that much ad revenue until you get to the point where you're getting tens of thousands of views on every video and posting them consistently and all that. But I know you guys all work hard for your money too, and everybody's struggling right now. So I'm grateful for everything that I get, and I don't try to push it. But now what I'm seeing, what I'm dealing with the suppression, and seeing that when the supers come in, usually it does tend to give me a boost. I am appreciative, but I don't want anybody to feel the need to send more than what they're typing. You know what I mean? That's kind of my rule of thumb. When I send supers to a creator, it's usually because there's something I feel that's important that I want them to hear. And I'll usually just type out the paragraph. And then sometimes I get it all done in $10. And, a lot of times it takes me $100, and it is what it is. So I, that's listen, I'm not saying send me paragraphs of all that, but as far as people with how generous that they want to be, I would usually do it with that. If you have something to say that can be done in one sentence, the $2, the $5, it's just as appreciated, for real. But when I do better with the supers, it makes it easier for me to do more merch giveaways or bigger discounts on the merch. So it goes around. It goes around. All right. So Dawn, $5. Thank you very much. In my opinion, TPUSA is a CIA hub, and CK was not aware. Mama France Vey is CIA. Tyler Boyer, Andrew Colvett, etc. CIA ops. Erika is CIA. I know what that symbol is. Pot. Listen, a lot of people believe it. A lot of people believe it. The one thing, though, CIA is not supposed to be operating in America. It's supposed to be operating overseas. It's not supposed to be like a domestic entity. So I definitely think it's a military operation. Is it CIA? I don't know. Could it be something else? Could they be affiliated with the FBI maybe? Could there be another whole intelligence agency that's like off the books that we're not aware of? I think that could be possible too. Either way, I mean, Turning Point USA, it's definitely having direct ties to this Trump administration and to the Republican Party in general, and possibly at this point, in the post-Charlie Turning Point 2.0 era, it could have some foreign involvement too. Fuzzy Balls, $5. Thank you very much. The average IQ on America has been plummeting for decades. Very unsurprising that stupid and greedy people are in charge of the government. Yeah, and I also think that nepotism has, a lot to play. Like somebody was just saying how Erika's mom, Lori France Vey, how she has some sort of intelligence ties, and I believe was a contractor in military defense. But yeah, you see these people. I mean, like even George W. Bush, like his father was president. His grandfather was like one of the OG CIA guys. He was also an isolationist. His great grandfather had strong ties to the Rockefellers in the late 1800s. Like you see that a lot of these, families, it's generation after generation. And every now and then you get like a Nepo baby that just sucks at their job and blows the cover. It's just the truth. Fuzzy Balls again, another $5. Thank you very much. North Korea and Belarusian average IQs dwarf ours. Countries trashed in the media. A good reason not to blindly believe what you are told. Yeah, I say that all the time. And, growing up when I was young and my mom used to tell me how lucky I was to be an American, she would tell me that in other countries like Russia and North Korea that they control the news. And I remember asking her, I remember having this conversation. I was in like 4th or 5th grade. And she's like, oh, we're so lucky to be Americans because in other countries they control the news. And I'm like, how do you know? And she goes, I saw it on the news. I'm like, well, how do you know they're not controlling our news, lying to us that they're getting their news controlled? And my mom's like, Jimmy, don't be ridiculous. I'm like, what do you mean? It's a serious question. She's like, don't be ridiculous. I'm like, why? What's your evidence? She goes, because we're Americans. And, that is when I realized that maybe my parents did not critically think the same way that I like to critically think, and that maybe I shouldn't trust the government. I was literally like 10 or 11 years old. It also didn't help the fact that by then I was already a big George Carlin fan, and I used to watch a lot of his stand up with my uncle. So yeah, I've always been pretty critical of everybody. We got, what is this? Denise? I don't know. You gotta type out how I'm supposed to pronounce your name so I know. I'm just gonna say D. $5. Thank you very much. I'm new and you're the bomb. Thank you very much. And please type in the comments how I pronounce your name because I don't want to mispronounce this. And I will remember. I'm getting pretty good at remembering who's who. And yes, if you're enjoying yourself, like I said, become a member, please. It is the best way to support the channel. And I get a lot more personal. I'm not going to lie. I even get more comfortable, when I'm doing the members only stuff. It's a smaller crowd. It's a smaller audience. I at least have some degree of knowledge of the majority of the people in there. I'm building a relationship with them and I get into more of the fun stuff. I pull the curtain back a little bit. I spill the tea, as we've been saying, give you guys some of the drama. You know, the members only stuff, it's a lot of fun. We got Ryan, you know, and I'm only saying your first name because you posted it in the Discord, but I won't say it again. You got to correct me if you don't want me to say your name. But I wanted to show that I'm like learning who's who. $5. Thank you. Destroy the Blob. Raid is as real as the hack that made some of the files at the FBI disappear. You know, I can't knock you for that opinion. You might be right. I'm not saying I'm 100% all in on it, but you might be right. I definitely don't blame you for feeling that way. You remind me of Turtle from Entourage. That's not good. Come on. Come on. I mean, not trying to knock Turtle from Entourage, but really, that's what I remind you of? It must be the hair. I don't know. Dawn, thank you for the $2, though. I appreciate it. But Turtle from Entourage, that is definitely a new one. $5 from D again. Bush's mother is the illegitimate child of Aleister Crowley, LOL. You know, I saw that on Candace Owens. I'm going to research that. I haven't gone that deep down my Aleister Crowley rabbit hole in a while. I was going down that and like Jack Parsons and all that, and the Scientology guy, you know, because they all kind of trace to Aleister Crowley. But I did not get to the Bush theory when I was doing my own research, but I did see Candace say that about 2 months ago. So I will look into that. Jane, what is up, Jane? Thank you for joining us. A member for 2 months now. Oh my God, it went by. It's going by that quick. That's crazy. I remember when you signed up. All of the U.S. presidents, except for one, are all related. And I believe that one was Van Buren. Chat, let me know if I'm right. Was the one president that is allegedly not related Martin Van Buren? Someone please look that up, one of my mods, and let me know. Fuzzy Balls, $2. George Carlin told me I am stupid if I vote. General elections in the past couple decades, maybe. I don't think you're stupid if you vote. I think that you need to realize that the elections are compromised. That, you know, the primaries are what really matter. Because if the general public is not aware of what's going on leading up to the primaries, and you don't get the right people on those ballots, and those people don't win the elections, then by the time, if you just wait for the main elections, that the damage is already done, that they've already filtered out anybody that could make a real change. And, you know, you're going to get two sides of the same coin. You know, I mean, think about it with Kamala Harris. Like, she was basically hinting at a war with Iran, you know, saying that Iran is our you know, biggest enemy and and that she would do something about that, focus on there. And I thought that she was pandering to our not so favorite, our not so greatest allies when she said it. But she was asked, like, if she's hinting that she would go to war and that there would be military intervention. And she said that she wasn't going to answer that question at that time. But I think, you know, when I hear statements like that, and then you look at like certain issues like COVID and how the left and the right were kind of handling it the same way, that to some degrees with the biggest issues that really affect us on the day-to-day, yeah, sometimes the elections, they don't matter as much as we would like to believe that they do. But now, before we close out, and I just want to thank you guys, because even though this live is not quite putting up the numbers that I was hoping it would, this has been a really good chat. I've been really enjoying this. I'm seeing some new names in here, which makes me happy. But before we close out, I actually want to play a little Baron Coleman. Oh, that's not the best freeze frame.
Person will be there to make sure the record is clean going up on appeal in case you lose, to give your client the best opportunity possible to be springed by the appellate court system, maybe even under habeas. So you might want somebody with a little federal practice as well under their belt. But it was the first part of the argument that I almost started to buy. So I had to really dig because I thought, I don't know what the standard is in Utah. Luckily for me, I found a statewide association of prosecutors and public attorneys presentation on best practices for preliminary hearings, because I started to buy what she was saying. And I thought, oh, well, let me read this. And I did. I read the whole thing. And it was here buried in slide 4, bullet point 2, that I realized I wasn't agreeing with Andrea anymore. I overcame the burden of her chuckle. Her chuckle had me in its grasps. It was holding me tightly, and I was able to kind of wiggle my way free right here because of bullet point number 2, State versus Hester, 2000, Utah Appeals 159, page 7, quoting a Utah Supreme Court decision here. But, quote, when faced with conflicting evidence, the magistrate, meaning the judge weighing the preliminary evidence, the magistrate may not sift or weigh the evidence, but must leave those tasks to the fact finder at trial. So I did what any decent lawyer would do. I pull his case, I look at what they're talking about, and it makes perfect sense.
Chat, let me know if you guys understand what he's talking about right now, or if you saw this already.
To me now why the defense is not doing certain things that we keep racking our brain saying, why aren't they doing these things? And I'll explain to you what I found. In Utah, when you're at the preliminary hearing stage, the court is not permitted to sift or weigh evidence from the defense. You can challenge the evidence, you can cross-examine, you can, but the judge is only determining whether the evidence is sufficient to be considered, not the weight of the consideration of the evidence. And that's an important distinction. It's a very important distinction. You, in other words, when they show you the screen caps, like we made a deal about the screen caps, why wouldn't they show the forensic evidence of the telephone, the handheld device? Why wouldn't they show the forensic evidence of that to show that the texts actually exist on that phone, that the texts were generated by that handset, by whoever was in control of that handset, the time, the location, and all that kind of stuff? Why won't they show that? Well, they don't have to. It's a preliminary hearing. They're allowed to show what they call reliable hearsay evidence in Utah. They're allowed to put it up in front of the magistrate, the judge, Tony Graff in this situation.
So basically what he's saying is that in the state of Utah, when they have these preliminary hearings that they're up to with this Tyler Robinson trial, that the quality of the evidence doesn't really come into play yet. Like, that's not going to be a factor until the trial. That at this stage in the case, that it's just about whether or not the evidence is going to get in. And that in the state of Utah, the rules appear to be a little loosey-goosey, where, you know, stuff gets in that probably shouldn't stick and probably shouldn't be there to begin with, but that's what it is. So, you know, there are a lot of people that are critical right now of the defense, you know, Tyler Robinson's attorneys, saying like, why are they letting this slide? Why aren't they challenging this? Why aren't they asking about that? And it's because, you know, they're operating within the parameters of, it's basically they're playing by the rules in which they have to play in this game. And it doesn't really matter. Not yet, at least. And that's really unfortunate. Like, the more that I learn about the legal system and how things really work, the more you realize that, you know, in America, you know, sometimes it really does feel like we have these kangaroo courts.
And you're allowed to leave it at that. And the defense can come in and say, yeah, but we don't know that that's on the handset. And the judge can say, yeah, but it's sufficient for the purposes of this hearing. Because all they're trying to do is determine, is it credible that this guy can maintain a charge? Is it credible? In other words, are we going to be laughed at by later courts that we let this guy go to a jury trial? We're not trying the case in the preliminary hearing. They're just determining, is it real evidence or is it fake evidence? And when you talk about the Discord confession, they're going to have somebody come in there, probably Lance. Well, I guess by writing, but my guess is it's going to be Lance's testimony. And Lance is going to say, yep, Zealous Monkey 5539 or whatever the handle was, that was Tyler's handle. That's how he chatted on Discord. And yeah, I saw that text from him and I knew it was from him because it said Zealous Monkey 5539 or whatever it was. And that's his handle. That's enough. The defense can get up there and they can't cross-examine Lance because he's not there, but the defense can get up there and say, but judge, anybody could have logged in, and the judge can say it's irrelevant. I'm not allowed to weigh the evidence. I'm just to determine if it's credible at all. And if it is, it's going to come in and I'm going to consider it when determining whether this very low burden exists to allow Tyler Robinson to go to trial. We're not even talking like greater than 50%. We're not talking about reasonable doubt, almost absolutely certain. We're not talking about any of these high standards. We're not talking about a preponderance of the evidence where it's, well in excess of half. We're just talking about probable cause. Could a reasonable person look at the evidence that's before me, and would that reasonable person say, yeah, we need to have a trial to figure out if that's the guy who did it? That's it. That's the standard. When you read the case, that's what it says. You're not allowed to sift. You're not allowed to examine. You're not allowed to do any of that stuff. You can examine, but you can only examine what the prosecution enters.
Doesn't that just seem so corrupt, though? Like, I'm not even just talking about this case. Like, this case, we know that there are, like, so many things wrong with every part of it, from the event itself to the way the police and the FBI reacted on the scene, to the chain of custody with the evidence, the statements, the narrative, the inconsistencies, even what they said that the family said. There are so many different things that just don't add up, that just feels corrupt. The whole thing. And I think that's why a lot of the people feel like maybe the whole thing was staged and it's a psyop and Charlie's still alive. It's not just because of what we're seeing about Erika's character, but it's just because it's so messy. The whole thing feels so messy and so dirty that it feels like it can't be incompetence. For this whole thing to be this messy and dirty, it feels like it had to have happened on purpose. Like it was meant that way. But then, like I said, you also have to factor in that, things like this type of corruption has been going on for a very, very long time. And we've already seen with the Bushes that nepotism comes into play. So when you have multiple families that are involved in different areas of these types of operations and these shady backdoor deals, you're going to have nepotism in different areas with different individuals. And, sometimes you get down a couple generations and all of a sudden the Nepo babies are taking over the family business and they're running it into the ground. They're racking up the debt. They're spending all the money. They're slipping up. They don't have the same level of discipline. They don't have the same level of commitment. They assume that they could just do whatever their parents did and that, it worked for them. They got away with it. We'll be fine. Or maybe they'll think that their parents can protect them. Like, yeah, we screwed this up, but, and listen, I'm not sitting here saying that that's what it is, but it's possible. Again, I like to have fun and entertain different theories, but I also like to be objective and try to look at everything from different angles and at least give it a fair amount of attention. I don't know what happened to Charlie Kirk that day. I don't know who killed him. I don't even know if he's really dead. All I can do is take the factual evidence that I have in front of me and use the different tricks and softwares and AI that I use for my methods of analyzing this type of stuff and just come to the best conclusions I have as far as hypotheses go and the best estimates, and then just be transparent with you guys and hope that I'm at least close enough to the bullseye and where people trust me as a credible source of information. And at the very least, even if I'm wrong, they know that I'm honest. And that's the big thing with me. Like, I'm not always going to be right. I know that. You guys know that. Anyone who tells you otherwise or tries to act like they're always right is probably not somebody you should be getting your information from. But I'm always going to be honest. And if I am wrong about something, I'll own up to it. And if I'm not sure about something, I'll tell you. And, you know, like with this case specifically, it gets a little messy because, you know, on one hand, I'm going to take him off for this part, you know, because one day I might analyze everything and do a video from the perspective that he's dead and that he could have been killed, whether it was, you know, a bullet, which I find very unlikely, or a lapel mic or the necklace or whatever, and try to give an objective analysis. But then another episode, I might entertain the idea that he's alive and try to make that case too. And that is what this is all about. It's trying to be objective. It's looking at every side and all of us together making our own conclusions and having a community where we could spitball and share our ideas without having to worry about being judged or harassed. You know, like, this is not an echo chamber. I don't expect nor I want everybody to believe the same thing or have the same opinions. You know, I encourage different ideas. I encourage you guys to challenge my ideas. Like, if I'm saying something, even if you could tell that I really believe in it, if you don't believe in it, I don't want you to pretend. I don't want you to change your mind. I want you to share how you feel and tell me why you feel that way. You know, I think that's the best way. Like, in my mind, when I envision how my platform should be and the responsibility that comes with having a platform like this, that is how I picture it. And I just hope all you guys know that, especially any of my first-time listeners. I know my regulars, especially my mods, you know, the ones in blue, like, they all know the deal, you know, and that's why the Discord is so cool. And I'm not even telling them to promote the Discord. I saw it pop up a couple times, the link. And it's not an open Discord for everybody. Like, you do have to get approved, just so you know. So if you do want to get in, you know, you could send a message. Also, you know what I should share that I haven't been sharing much? I do have an email address for anybody that has any questions. You know, like I said, I do my own research. I don't want anybody to send. I don't like links and I don't like notes. But if you have any questions or you have any factual evidence, any tips, if you like know something or know somebody, this is the email to send it to. RealBayesTeam@gmail.com. Just so you guys know. But yeah, let's continue with this because I got to wrap it up soon.
And you can only examine it to determine whether it's fake on its face. On its face. And so if you have Zealous Monkey saying that's it, if you have Lance saying, "Oh, Zealous Monkey," that's Tyler. Every time he texted under Discord, that was his handle. And now you have a picture of a Discord message. Yeah, that's him. It's coming in. Well, Judge, he was in custody. Okay. I mean, I guess they could put Tyler up to say, I was in custody at 6:25. I was Mirandized, but I think that'd be very foolish to give up your Fifth Amendment rights so soon. You know, maybe one of those investigators that's on the witness list, they could talk to him and say, did he have his phone? And they'll probably say, I don't know if he had his phone. I didn't see him. I didn't get there till 10 o'clock. I have no idea what was happening at 8 o'clock. I don't even know where he was. It's outside of my bailiwick, as they say. And so I think it's important as we consider the Andrea but argument. But the defense hasn't raised it. Well, the defense hasn't raised it because it doesn't make sense for the defense to raise it at this point. If they're going to attack this message, they're going to do it at trial. That's the only opportunity, or in a pretrial motion. That's the only opportunity to do it. It's too soon. It's too early. The preliminary stage is not the place because the judge is not permitted to consider that counter evidence. The judge is not permitted to consider these types of things. He just looks at the evidence on its face. Is there enough credible evidence that this is real? If there is, I mean, just, a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Well, now I look at all the stuff before me and say, would any outsider look at this and say, Judge, you're ludicrous for letting this guy go to trial? Unless the answer to that question is yes, then he's going to trial. That's why they haven't raised the issue. I do think the defense is dropping these Easter eggs. I think that's why they put the 6:25 p.m. in there, so that we would find it and look. Now, again, I am humble. I leave open the possibility that 6:25 could have been on September 12th. It would fly in the face of all evidence. It would fly in the face of the statement he made at 6:25 that said he.
All right, guys, while we're on the subject, I have one more poll before we wrap this up. I'm curious about what you guys think. Now, keep in mind, I'm not asking you if you think Tyler Robinson is guilty. I think the majority of us are going to agree that that is not likely. My question is, do you think he will be found guilty? Those are two completely different questions. I'm not asking if you think he is guilty. I'm asking if you think he will be found guilty in this trial, knowing everything that we know.
Was looking for a lawyer and his office was closed for the night and his parents were looking for it because he'd have to have spoken to his parents relatively recently, and he would say the night, not the weekend, so it would fly in the face of that. It would fly in the face of the local community saying that they knew Tyler Robinson had turned himself in before 7 o'clock. Text messages were going around saying that. It would fly in the face of the fact that the arrest booking sheet says he was arrested by Brian Davis at 10 p.m., that he was the arresting officer and that he was arrested at 10 o'clock on September 11th, and Brian Davis would have had to drive 3.5, 4 hours to get there. So Tyler Robinson would have had to make himself known before that so they would know to leave the Salt Lake City, Provo area and start heading down to southern Utah. It would fly in the face of all of that. It would fly in the face of the bait stamp. So I'm pretty confident when I say I think it was September 11th. But I'm open to being wrong. I think that's what distinguishes your humble host from these people on the other side who are not open to being wrong. They're committed for reasons other than the pursuit of the truth. They have a narrative to support. It's Fed slop. Tastes like Alpo. Let the dogs eat it. Alpo, good for dogs, bad for Fed sloppers, bad for humans. So that's the fourth one, the but argument. Now we have the fifth and worst argument. The fifth and worst argument, I'm going to call the RAR argument. Like RAR argument. This is the worst argument yet. And this is from Paramount Impractical. And I'm going to put it up here with all its defamation in here because I don't really care if he defames me. He does it all the time. I could, of course, send him a cease and desist. I would, of course, win a defamation suit. I'm not going to charge him. I'm not doing that. But I'll put it up here with all its defamation in here, proving once again. Oh, he's talking about this right here. This is the nuh-uh argument. He's bought the nuh-uh argument, proving once again Baron Coleman is a grifting clown, peddling conspiracies that don't exist. Isn't it convenient? You don't show the below arrest report, which shows Tyler Robinson in custody on 9/12, not 11, at 0400 hours. Well, it's because it's irrelevant whether he was in custody at 0400 on the 12th, because I showed a booking sheet that he was arrested at 10 p.m. on the 11th. So the fact that he's still in custody at 4 a.m. on the 12th is not a surprise to me. In fact, it's expected. So I don't know why I would show that. This is what the motion to exclude cameras document is referencing. The interrogation occurred on 6:25 p.m. on the 12th. And this is where he can't be serious right now. I don't believe he's low IQ enough to truly believe that is.
I just realized that when I turn my head this way that it looks like I'm looking the opposite direction, but that's just because I can't read this on this screen here. Like right now, like the monitor where I see you guys in the chat is like right here, and then the monitor where this is bigger, you know, like the screen showing Baron where I can actually read it. It's like over here.
100% the case. Again, because it flies in the face of all evidence, but this is, Gary, impractical, paramount impractical. You also falsely stated
paramount impractical.
Sheriff Brooksby's timeline is the only thing that supports he was Mirandized on the 12th and not the 11th. That's not false. It is the only thing. You take away Sheriff Brooksby's comment, and there's no evidence at all that 6:25 p.m. was on the 12th.
That's pretty wild.
And in fact, if you take away Sheriff Brooksby saying that he first heard of Tyler Robinson at 8:02 p.m., if you take away Sheriff Brooksby saying that that's when he got the call that Tyler Robinson was preparing to turn himself in, and then Tyler Robinson showed up an hour or so later, if you take Sheriff Brooksby out of this and you look only at the documentary evidence, and you see that he was arrested by Brian Davis of the Utah State Bureau of Investigation at 10 p.m. on September 11th, then any rational, reasonable person would start doing a little math and saying, how long would it take Brian Davis to get there? Okay, well, he got there at 10, subtract 3.5, 4 hours. Okay, so 6:30, he would have been alerted and he would have been on his way. And so I double down. Yes, Sheriff Brooksby is the only thing that supports the 12th and not the 11th. Because Sheriff Brooksby is the only person, the only testimony that shows that Tyler Robinson could not have been there at 6:25 p.m. You remove Sheriff Brooksby from the equation, and it's obvious that it was 6:25 p.m. in St. George, or in, I guess, Hurricane, but Washington County. Wrong again, a crooked letter hat. You really do suck at lawyering.
Yeah,
I'm hurt, Gary.
So funny.
I'm hurt. My whole job of my 20-year career representing a wide variety of people has been to impress Gary Milton from Paramount Impractical. The fact that I failed in my life's mission, Gary, I'm just devastated. I'm devastated that you think I suck at lawyering. That's amazing. This must be why you lost the Gavin McInnes defamation case. There's your defamation. I didn't lose that case. Case isn't over. That case was filed 7 years ago. It's very much still active, sir. So that is by per se defamatory, but that's okay. I'm not going to hold you to it. I will direct. If you don't believe me, get on Pacer, Gary. It's still quite active. I will direct your attention below to the screenshot from the affidavit for search warrant from Apple Inc. Page 5 of 9 of the search warrant. You seem to have problems finding information. Gary, I'm the one that found that affidavit for the search warrant. Well, Daisy is. She found 16 of them. So it's not that we suck at finding information. It's that we
Yo, shout out to Daisy. She's a real one too. Daisy is awesome.
Consider the totality of all information available. Not just supported by the Sheriff Nate Brooksby timeline. The timeline is in the search warrant, you low IQ clown. Sir, low IQ is my phrase. You're not allowed to use that. Good thing you become a full-time lying, conspiracy inventing, horse doo-doo peddling propagandist. You have a gift for it, unlike your incompetence at practicing law. Again, per se defamation, but that's fine. I'm going to let it go. I don't care. I don't care what Gary Impractical says. In fact, the only reason anyone even knows he still exists is because we cover him from time to time. If Candace never mentioned him and I never mentioned him, his audience would probably be a third of what it is, which is already very small. But again, if you look here, what he's talking about.
Yo, again, Gary has a lot of subs. Guy's got like 250,000 subs. He just only gets a couple hundred people watching him at a time. You know, that's why I don't feel so bad. You know, even if I only get 150 people watching me, it's still a much higher percentage of my sub count, you know, than a guy like Gary gets.
This says he arrived at approximately 22, 26 hours at Washington County, and he was wearing clothing. He was not wearing clothing consistent with the clothing observed on the surveillance camera. So, you know, where do you think they got that information that he arrived at 22, 26 hours? I go back to Sheriff Brooksby. Do you think they just made it up? No, they got it from Sheriff Brooksby. So once again, Gary, I double, triple, quadruple down. The only reason that we believe it was that timeline is because of Sheriff Brooksby. That's it. There is no other reason.
And with that said, I'm actually going to have to wrap this up. Hold on. Let me get the results of this last poll. So I asked, do you think Tyler Robinson will be found guilty? 72% said no, and 28% said yes. And I will just tell you guys, I don't think he will be found guilty either. Not in a million years. If he does, it is going to be a tragedy to our justice system. But that is my show for today. We went over 3 hours, which it really didn't even feel that long. Like, I've done 3-hour shows that felt like 3-hour shows, and this one went by pretty quick. I didn't even have to get up to go to the bathroom. At least I don't think so. It's like a miracle. But what time is it? It's 1 o'clock. I might do a members only live. I gotta see. If I do, I'll probably do it around 5 o'clock p.m. So in 4 hours. So I will let you guys know in the Discord in like by 3 o'clock. I'll know. I need like 2 hours. Give me 2 hours, and I'll put in the Discord whether or not I'm going to do a members only live today. But thank you everybody for joining me, especially for the new viewers. If you enjoyed, please do me the favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. If you're not a member, you want to consider becoming a member, that would be great. Like I said, if I do the members only, I'm going to spill the tea. It's going to be a little bit different vibe than today. If you know, you know. But that is all. So thank you very much, everybody. Again, this was great. I will be back later. If not, like I said, tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern time, and every Saturday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, you could catch me live streaming with Danks. And I said earlier, I believe we're going to have Elizabeth Lane as our special guest. That is not a guarantee, but I'm hoping that we're going to follow through on that. But I should know by my members only live today on that as well. So thank you, everybody. Be kind, be grateful, do something nice for somebody, pray, and I will see you guys later. Take care.